Good. Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone here today and those online. Beautiful day out there, and hope things are going well for everyone. We have a huge agenda today, so we may end up having to take a break somewhere along the way. Anyway, I am going to offer a word of prayer, and then after that, Commissioner Johnson will lead us in the pledge. Our dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful that we could be here this day, and we're thankful for all the many blessings that Thou hast given us. We're grateful that we could live in such a great country and in such a wonderful county also. We ask Thee to watch over us today and help us to make good decisions and to have open minds. And we're so thankful that we have the freedoms that we do. And we ask Thee to continue to bless us and bless our country and bless our leaders and our military. And we are so grateful for everything that Thou hast done for us. And these blessings we ask and hope for in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes of October 1st, 2024. Anybody have any changes you'd like to make to the minutes?
I have none.
I had one question. I think it's probably correct, but on page 3, line 66, was that price $375 a month, or was it $400? Because I can remember talking about both.
$375.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure on that one. I didn't have it on my notes, so. All righty. Bill, do you have anything?
I do not have nothing.
I make the motion we approve the minutes for
October 1st.
October 1st.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes from the meeting held on October 1st, 2024. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next, do we have any follow-up action items? Okay. Next, 10:05, agenda item, discussion and possible appointment of interim county attorney. Okay, we only had one person submit an interest or their resume to the county, and this person is very highly qualified. I looked over her resume, and it is very impressive. So I know she'll do a great job. And anyway, Elise Harris is the one that we need to consider. So either of you two have any comments or questions?
I make a motion we appoint Elise Harris as our interim county attorney.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint Elise Harris as our interim county attorney. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Who said that? Well, Dennis, I realize you're losing your city county or city attorney, but it's okay. We don't mind stealing her away.
I don't oppose her wanting to advance her career. I oppose the fact that we're losing her.
Oh, yeah, I've been to your city meetings and watched her in action, and she did a great job there. I saw her in Hinckley. I know she's going to do a great job. I know that the previous county attorney recommended her very highly, so I have no doubt she's going to do a great job. And I even taught her, and she was an awesome student, so I can recommend her too. Anyway, congratulations, and we appreciate you doing this, and
Thank you.
we know you'll be a great asset for us. Okay, 1010 agenda item, disclosure statements. Yep, you sure can.
We have to swear her in before she can.
When do we do that?
Now?
Right now? Oh, okay.
You write down right.
Who does the swearing in? You do, don't you? Okay.
Just one second.
Okay. We're going to pause here for a minute so we can get Attorney Harris sworn in. And looks like she's got a fan club here, so that's good.
That's for disclosures.
Oh, we've got to read that, I guess, once we get started again.
I know, I showed it.
By the way, Elisa's father was county attorney for quite a while. He did a great job. Great man. Did a lot for our county. Any of you that have come in and haven't signed the roll, we would like you to do that, please.
I've got the 3 agreements. I've got the FEMA resolution. I've got the budget resolution. I don't have the resolution B. Yes, B.
Okay, I guess we'll take care of that right now.
Stand down there or just right there?
Go down in front. We want it to be special.
I feel like I should remember this from what you got this week. We're gonna do it all the time and raise your right hand. Use, just repeat after me. I do solemnly swear. I do solemnly swear. That I will support, obey, and that I will support, obey the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of Utah. And the Constitution of the State of Utah. And that I will discharge the duties. And that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Of my office with fidelity.
I'm surprised Matt isn't here getting a photo.
I think Matt just stays in his office and does it.
Oh, he's listening to us.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
listening.
Matt, you forgot to come over to get a photo. All right, now we can continue on. Okay, disclosure statement. Whoops. I guess that's the only one, huh? Okay, do you read that out loud, who that's from? Then doesn't he do that?
Anybody can.
Okay.
Do I read the whole thing or just the Elise?
Just who's from.
Okay. So this disclosure statement is from Elise Harris. She's the deputy county attorney, or not a county attorney.
Interim county attorney.
So do we need to change that on here? Okay. And she worked for, also is associated with White County Associates. Is that good enough?
Okay, thank you. All right, we ready for the financial review?
So this is just follow-up for last time, August financial review. We're ready to actually meet on September already. I didn't email all the auditor statements, and they have been mailed October 2nd. Did you guys have any questions? One department was over budget at that time, and which in turn we have advertised to open the budget today, public hearing, so.
I have none.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, ladies. Okay, next, IGP waivers.
We have one waiver for basketball for $50, $40 plus additional fee for jerseys, 10.
Okay,
So I would move, is this the east side or west side?
West side.
It's west side. I would move the approval of this one IGP waiver.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve an IGP waiver for $50. All of those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. 10:15 agenda item, ratification of business license for 360 Transport, owner Crystal Blessing.
This we just need to do that for ratification because it wasn't on the agenda for approval. and we approved it on the-
Okay.
I make a motion to ratify the business license for 360 Transport.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to ratify the business license for 360 Transport, owner Crystal Blessing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, discussion and possible approval of cell phone stipends for Alejandro Aguilar and Jesse Warner. Aguilar, excuse me.
So these are the same as we've done with all of our other deputies. There's constant use on their cellular devices while they're on duty, as well as having to do multi-factor authentication and subject to call-outs. And so we're just asking the $40 a month stipend.
I'm of the opinion, I know we're gonna be redoing our cell phone stipends, changing our policy at the start of the year, so instead of doing this for 2 months, I'm just saying, hey, let's hold off on it till we figure it out. Which we wanna do for 2 months, but the policy will be changing, and more than likely, we will be doing away with the cell phone stipend altogether. So,
We've had a discussion over the last 6 months, particularly when we went to the new cell phone system, that we would probably consider not allowing any cell phone stipends, but we would do some addition to all employees, because all employees will now have responsibility to have a cell phone. And so I would support Trevor in, we're going to make that policy change and put it we're anticipating putting in the budget, so.
Yeah, so just a clarification, we're not doing away with all cell phone stipends. What we're going to do is standardize cell phone stipends for all employees, right? Because of the two-factor authentication that's required, so the state of Utah is coming down with some pretty specific two-factor authentication requirements for privacy because of all of the issues that we're having with data breaches and stuff like that. So a lot of our work functions are going to require two-factor authentication when it deals with anything with government data. And because of that, then, I think what we're trying to do is figure out how to give everybody some cell phone stipend, right? So we'll standardize that cell phone stipend and make it consistent across the board for all of our employees, minus probably the elected officials, is the conversation that we're having right now. So anyway, just a clarification that's what we're shooting for. So we're hoping that all the employees get a standardized cell phone stipend on a monthly stipend, and to cover exactly what Captain Bennett's talking about.
Right, and what we've submitted for is just the base rate, as with all of our other deputies. So I think that's standard across the board for our deputies.
So, and I'm fine with holding off on it until we just standardize it, but unless we want to give it to them for 2 months, because it will be changing, that's all we're saying is
Right.
that standard rate probably won't be there. Do you have any opinions, Bill?
Is that a motion? I'll second the motion if you want to make that a motion.
Okay, I'll make the
Okay,
motion.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to wait until the start of the year to approve stipend allowances. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I kind of would have liked to have given it to him now, but that's okay. All righty, 1020. Discussion and possible renewal of contracts with commercial business radio. Okay, we have the Andersons. We need to have you guys state your name into the microphone, please.
Okay, I'm Bryant Anderson, and this is my son Kendall Anderson. And on behalf of Commercial Business Radio, I just wanted to say that we appreciate the opportunity and have done for years to support the county in maintaining equipment throughout the county, and the support of department heads and people that we work with. We appreciate them very much. At this point, we have not a handout. Usually we have a handout with pricing changes in that. We haven't proposed any changes at this point due to the fact that some equipment that's been added is still under warranty. We don't really pick it up on contract until it's out of warranty anyway, even though we would maintain it or do what needs to be done if it quits or has problems. But since some equipment has been taken off and we're in a mode where it's difficult and we're not always advised of changes of equipment, we do the best we can when it's made available to us, and we're notified of changes in the equipment that's being maintained. But we do the best we can, and we work with the departments that have radios. So this is both the radio maintenance agreement as well as the TV translator equipment. There's two agreements that are separate, and we're proposing that they remain the same as far as the rates for the next year, and we'd be glad to continue the same basic agreement and pricing that we have had for last year. I don't know if you have any questions regarding what we do or what's going on there.
Only question I have, Kendall, is did you have a chance to look at our equipment in that shed and see if you guys could do something?
Yeah, I think we can house the stuff where we already have room for it.
Okay.
We just have to come up with, I guess, a dollar amount to store it there.
Okay. Could you do that? We would like to be out by as soon as possible, but no later than the end of the year. And we can work with Clint and Bill and their guys to
Relocate it.
help you relocate it, so you're not having to do all the work. Clint, what we're doing is moving some of our old radio equipment and the stuff that they use from a storage facility we're using now. We're gonna put it in theirs because our rates are increasing, so they just might need some help moving some of that. If that works for you guys too.
Did we find out if the shelving that's currently in the existing one is the county's or?
I talked to the lady the other day. I'll have to call her back. I didn't think to ask her that, so.
Okay, we just need to know whether we need to come up with some shelving or
Okay.
what we need to do.
Okay.
Bill, did you have any?
I don't have any questions, no.
These guys do a great job, I feel like they do anyway. I went on a tour of most of the buildings, and they showed me what they do, and it's really impressive. They take care of the county and do a great job. And I don't know if all of you are aware of this, but they actually have their own little TV channel that has movies and things on it that you can watch also. And so they do a great job for the county. Okay, I guess we need a motion.
When does this contract renew now or something? What-
It'll take effect at the first of the year.
First year? Okay.
I make a motion to renew both contracts with Commercial Business Radio.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to renew the contracts with Commercial Business Radio. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Is there anything I need to sign here?
Yes.
Just keep digging down. Oh, right here. Okay.
Should be two of them.
Two agreements.
Here's the other one.
Okay.
Sure.
I guess we should have got Bryant to sign this one before he left.
I got it, Elise.
You got him? Okay.
Hey, Brian.
That's actually the bottom page for that.
And then finally,
You want it back?
thought we had to sign left.
Yeah, and then there's this one also.
And then I'll email you a copy, Brian.
Thank you.
Did you hear it say she'll email you a copy, please?
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 1025 agenda item, discussion and possible approval of reallocating capital project funds for improvements to the West Fairgrounds area.
Clint Penny, Maintenance Supervisor.
Bill Lister, Maintenance Assistant Supervisor.
So, we want to repurpose some money for a different project out of the capital funds. I think same fund. We thought it'd be in the county's best interest to finish the concrete from the north of the west bleachers to extend it all the way north to meet the existing concrete on the north side. That's a, what, 60, I can't remember the dimensions.
It's 44 by 111.
By 111.
So it's that northwest corner.
Yes, so where we had the buck and bowl, and we poured that small pad at the first of the year with the ARPA money, we want to extend that all the way down to where it goes right to the gate, so it matches with the concession stands. So it'll
Yeah, I know, you got a whole.
finish that whole corner off.
So what was that money earmarked for before?
Well, we talked about doing some extra corrals and that.
Okay. So that's
to
the money you're
possibly
gonna take.
relocate the horses out of the indoor arena. Again, we handed you earlier the statement from Hank.
Yep.
He feels that the indoor arena is the best place to handle the horses.
Mm-hmm.
I know the fair would like to use that building,
But that's where the money was allocated for this year,
was for the corrals.
but it didn't get done?
No.
Okay, so that's where we're moving. Do you have an anticipated price, Bill?
Well, the bids will be open later today. or
Okay, all
sometime.
right.
There's a closed bid system going on.
I just want to clarify a couple things. So with the way that we account for our improved projects and capital projects, it's, the line item is by, like, for instance, arena, outdoor arena, and different departments can request project money. And so these have been requested by different departments. And so really, this is all the stakeholders in the same room deciding, and you guys decide how that money is going to be respent or repurposed if you so choose to. I think this is a good best practices, and even with like the adding on, remodeling, that type of thing, if we're going to repurpose, because different people might have requested different funding, and it be in the same account because it's going to the same project or project area. That's how we have to show, the improvement on the assets. So I just kind of wanted to explain that. And there was several projects in there. There was fencing, and it was like $8,500. There was $30,000 for pins. And those were requested from the tourism department, along with, in the same line item, these other items. So just wanted
Okay,
to
thank
make
you.
that clear for the record.
Kevin, wasn't
Real quick,
this-
Were those funds, were they, that 30,000, was that given to maintenance from,
Well, it's in
Tourism.
capital, it's not any one department's
Okay.
funding. And when it's in capital, you guys actually sign off, the chair usually signs off on every single invoice that's
Being a
paid.
general capital fund.
Yeah.
And not in a department.
Yeah, and it's listed by project area or project.
Kevin, is this the same cement concrete pad that you were talking about that needed to be done a while back?
I think you made those improvements 2 or 3 years ago, didn't you? Made some improvements down there?
It's been ongoing.
And it's been ongoing.
Yeah.
I know we made
There
some.
has been some
We're just
already
trying
this
to,
year.
you have been some already,
done,
but we
yeah.
just didn't go far
Yeah.
enough. Probably ran out of money.
And then we did have some issues with people slipping and falling
Yeah.
during the rodeo.
But it seems like a couple of years ago, we started that project. Okay.
Was this the same one you'd talked to me like over a year ago about?
It is.
Okay.
It's part of that, relocating the bleachers and finishing that out for that concession stand. It was going to be something that had been over a few years. And we don't have a problem allocating that money, reallocating it. But we feel like we still want to push forward with the pens for the horses. I know Hank wants them in the barn, but I think if we want to grow the fair and the stuff in the future, we'd like to at some point have access to the barn.
I know this contract that, or at least this letter he sent to us from Hank.
So my understanding, what's being proposed is going to cost more than $30,000 too. It's going to be way,
For the pens?
well,
You're talking-
for the
Not for
pens
the
and the
small-
alleyway and everything they
Okay,
want to do.
yeah. All right. This,
We definitely
it's
need
hard
the
to get
concrete.
them, we
Yeah,
gotta not get
for sure.
them mixed up here.
Yeah, I think you're going to be over $100,000 to do what they're proposing to do. The location where he wants it, you're gonna be, 100,000 or more.
Well, let's get back to the original concept. We need to finish our job with cement. We've got some bids today, so I would move that we approve the reallocation. Maybe when we open the bids, we won't want to do that, but I'm assuming, and I would move we approve the reallocation of resources from that to finish this concrete pad.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the reallocating of capital project funds for improvements to the West Fairgrounds Arena for concrete. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, 10:30 agenda item, public hearing for the purpose of receiving public comment on a zoning ordinance map amendment application Z-2024-038, requesting a change the zoning of approximately 13.43 acres of property located at approximately Exit 1, Highway 70, which is the intersection of I-15 and Highway 91, Cove Fort, from Range and Forest to Highway Commercial. Casey Hodges, applicant.
I would move we open a public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go into a public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Are you representing them without them being here?
No, I'm happy to answer questions, but
Tell us what we're doing.
yeah, and actually I apologize, I'm trying to pull up the file right now so I can give you better information. But effectively, what's going on is we have some property right down by Cove Fort. If you look at the zoning district map, and again, I know we're still in public hearing, so the zoning district map for that area is pretty checkerboarded. We usually try to avoid doing islands, but the nature of Cove Fort is such that it's right at the convergence of major thoroughfares. And so as people have gone down and found business opportunities and sought to take advantage of that location, there's been quite a bit that's been rezoned to highway commercial, but it's not just one block. It really is fairly patchy, and it's really where locations have been approved over the years for business purposes. The Hodges piece is currently zoned range and forest. In fact, there's several pieces that are contiguous, but there's a little over 13 acres, about 13.43.
Is this contiguous, or is it
Yeah,
different?
they touch, the road does bisect it.
Okay.
But you have, under the range and forest, basically, you can do grazing, you can do a good number of things, but you can't set up a shop and service vehicles or a gas station. And so currently, the Hodges operate the truck repair down at Cove Fort, the one that's currently the Terribles or the Chevron, which is now Terribles. They operate that, and they rent those facilities, and they're looking at basically establishing another stop, another.
Will this be off I-70 before it hits?
It's right as the, yeah. And again,
Right at the juncture there is where.
It's right.
So they want to move down because we're missing that business going the other way.
What they have now is their leasing, and they've had a chance to acquire property, and this is very favorably sited to have good access and good visibility. It's currently not being used for agriculture. I mean, there might be a little bit of grazing that happens, but it's not being actively, I don't think anything down real close to Cove Fort, other than Cove Fort itself has much that would be regularly irrigated. So, but that's the discussion. The Planning Commission, in reviewing this, gave a favorable recommendation for the zone change and found that it was consistent with the nature of the surrounding properties as well as the intent for the highway commercial zoning district. Then again, once a zone change is made, any allowed uses are opened up for that zoning district. So in effect, you do need to consider everything that could happen once that groundwork is laid with a new zone. So.
Seeing no further discussion, I move we close the public hearing.
Okay, oh, do you second that?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Well, sounds like if they're going to build something there, they're going to have a change in the zoning. I'm assuming they'll eventually be able to get water.
Yes, actually, they do have that figured out. Maybe just worth mentioning these points. There's a section in our land use code, and it lists 8 points that we're supposed to consider as factors, among others, when we're deciding the land use ordinance amendment. And those 8 points are the consistency of the proposed amendment with the county general plan, the effect of the proposed amendment on the well-being of the county, the effect of the proposed amendment on the public health, welfare, and safety, the effect of the proposed amendment on the interests of the county and its residents, the ability of the county and other service providers as applicable to provide all infrastructure, facilities, and services required by the uses and activities allowed by the proposed amendment, compatibility of the proposed uses and activities with nearby and adjoining properties, the suitability of the properties for the uses and activities proposed, and finally, the effect of the proposed amendment on the existing goals, objectives, and policies of the general plan, and listing any revisions to the county's land use ordinances and any other ordinances and resolutions required to implement the amendment. So those are statutorily required to be considered. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, they've gone through and looked at the required septic system, the water, the power, those things have been considered and provided for the property so that there's means to accomplish those.
Okay, sounds good.
I would move that we approve the ordinance change. It's hard to perceive what might happen in the future down there. I think this is an opportunity for someone, or anyway, request for someone in our county that wants to improve their business ability, and I think that's good. So I would move the adoption of the ordinance, 2410-15.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance 24-10-15, an ordinance of Millard County Commission changing the zoning of approximately 13.43 acres of property located at approximately Exit 1, Highway 70, Cove Fort, from RF to HC. Did we do roll call vote? Okay.
Ordinance 24-10-15 as discussed. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
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 Do you have the ordinance?
Yes, I've passed it to Commissioner Johnson, he's passed it to Commissioner Lincoln.
Maybe just a comment before I retreat back to the
Yeah, go ahead.
seats. Over the last, I'd say 2 to 3 years, we've received several zone change applications for Cove Fort. I'm aware of 1 or 2 more that are in the works. What I think we're seeing in general is most of it is on the I-15, but just the amount of traffic coming through, similar to Fillmore being somewhat of a stopping point, one of several along that road that's traversed so heavily. People are looking and seeing how much opportunity there is. And I know there's going to be at least 1 or 2 more that we'll have in the next several months that are businesses looking to provide services and looking to locate in Cove Fort. It's not exploding, but there is more happening in Cove Fort than we've seen for a while. So,
And Commissioner, I think we can have some comfort that our planning and zoning commission does the due diligence that we don't have to do, and will tend to vet all these, so thank you.
Yeah, when I've attended those meetings, I feel like they're doing a great job. Okay.
Go ahead.
1040 agenda item, public hearing for the purpose of receiving public comment on a zoning ordinance map amendment application number Z2024-045, requesting a zone change from agricultural to heavy industrial of 436.63 acres of property located south and east of the intersection of West 7500 North Road and North 4000 West Road, Delta. ACES Delta LLC applicant.
I would maybe open a public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to open a public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
One more. Jared.
Will you state your names, please?
Good morning, all. My name is Jared Renner. I'm the Operations Director for ACES Delta.
I'm Tiffany James. I'm a consultant with ACES Delta.
Pull your mic closer.
Do I need to re-say that one?
Yeah.
Tiffany James. I'm a consultant with ACES Delta.
Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
I think we sent through some slides. I don't know if you are wanting to put them up on the screen or not, or I can read through them. Essentially, we're here today, as mentioned. We've recently acquired,
Can you put them up on the screen?
Yes.
And we know you have a full agenda, so we can do these presentations as quickly or as short as you would like.
As I read through it, I noticed that it'll make it so you can build a lot more caverns.
Yeah.
Is that what's on there now, sheep?
no.
Oh, okay. I'm just wondering.
It doesn't quite look like
That would
that.
make it easier, yeah.
That's what used to be on there? A picture of the past?
Marky, if I send forward this to you, can you connect to the?
Do you want us to start and then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead
All
and
right.
start.
So as I was mentioning, we recently acquired a tract of land, 436.63 acres, adjoining some existing Magnum land. So,
Is that Sitla property?
no, this
Or
is private.
This
fee.
is private property that you acquired, okay.
Yeah.
Which one?
So in section 3,
Oh, okay.
It's where you guys put new power lines, right?
correct.
New power line.
Yeah, so aligning with past practice in the last 15 or so years, Magnum working with the county, we're looking to rezone this property that we've recently acquired from the existing agricultural to heavy industrial, aligning with the county plans and the Magnum plans. This adjoins our existing property, and the property is currently, or historically and currently been used as agricultural land, and we're going to continue to lease that property to the existing farmer that has crops on there currently. We did acquire the property mainly for the right-of-way. We were looking for an easement, but the property happened to be for sale, so the opportunity aligned, and we ended up acquiring that tract of land.
Did the same person that runs the cows on it own the property?
No,
Okay.
it's different.
So consistent with the Millard County general plan and the development goals, we're looking to change that zoning from the agricultural to heavy industrial. It is directly adjacent to our existing heavy industrial zone lands, roughly 10 miles north of Delta City, and adjacent to the IPP property as well. Historically, Millard County has supported concentrated industrial development in this area to maintain that rural character of the city of Delta, keep them segregated from each other. And since 2012, ACES Delta Holdings and its affiliates have responsibly developed that area, building 2 successful businesses, the second of which is currently under development, which I believe everyone is aware of with the ACES 1 facility. Yeah, if you could,
You like to get the map or just move?
yeah, if you could go to slide 2 real quick, and I'll highlight the specific property we're referring to. So bottom center of the map in section 3, you can see the red outline. The solid line is the property that was purchased, and then the dashed red line is the 1,320-foot buffer adjacent to the landowner notification for that property.
And the dash line's kind of hard to see, so this is the property right here that's being rezoned, all of those the existing leases, Delta Magna property combined.
And you own the buffer zone also?
No.
Oh.
No, that's just the, yeah, that was just the buffer that we analyzed and did public notices to.
Yep. So if you could scroll to slide 3, please. So as I was mentioning, this is further development of our existing lands and focused on potential economic benefits for both the company and the county. And approval will continue to promote further future development of these lands collaboratively with the county. If you can see on slide 4, please. There's a small red oval there on the map showing where this new property is in relation to our existing heavy industrial property. So it does connect with the track that we have on section 2 and in reference to the larger plot of heavy industrial.
And one thing to note, since 2010, when Magnum first started.
Tiffany, when you talk, can you pull
Yes,
that?
most definitely.
I'm
I'm
sorry
horrible
about
with that,
that.
I know. In
That
2000.
soft voice I can't.
I know, I get it all the time. Since 2010, Magnum and now ACES has been in the county working, as we consolidate this block, everything up there was around an IPP block that was already designated as heavy industrial. So since 2010, as we've acquired property, it's always been either agriculture, Ag 20, or range and forest. We've been, coming to the county and working collaboratively to upzone so that we can create this master planned industrial complex with the county. Any questions on the zoning?
Go back to the map. Where's the chicken farm from there? To the
Yeah.
west a little
It
bit?
is to the west, about 2 sections, maybe 3.
That's what I just wondering. It gives me a
A
perspective.
little north also, isn't
Give me
it?
a perspective of where it's at, I guess.
Chicken farm is right about here.
So it's just to the east and the south a little bit, okay?
Yeah, it's southeast of the.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So if you're familiar with the existing ACES 1 facility that's being constructed or currently, it's just slightly south and west.
South and west of there, okay? Just trying to get my bearings.
Yep.
No, it's all right. She showed me where.
Any further questions?
Adam, I'm guessing that Planning and Zoning Committee said they
So,
approved.
so the Planning Commission, there's actually quite a lot of discussion on this one. The recommendation was favorable for the zone change. The question, I think that they were initially wondering is, does this mean that there's going to be rapid expansion to the south from the ACES project? And just, there's sort of some points of clarification made in that meeting as to what the intended use of that property will be. Again, there are multiple uses permitted within their conditional use permit, some of which sometime down the road could absolutely be implemented, and so this does open it up for additional uses that are not currently allowed on that under the current zoning. One of those would be that they could install solar. That was one of the questions, but they're not going to put caverns on that piece.
Right.
But some of the other discussion that went along with that is the conditional use permit itself. In order to have that included in the conditional use permit, we have an interesting thing with the county where the most restrictive zoning limits the uses. So if we have properties and they are maybe split zone for some reason we messed up, or if we're going to do a project on a conditional use permit and it has multiple zones, all that we're allowed to allow on that is what is allowed in all of the zones. So if there's something that's prohibitive or restrictive in one zone, it basically limits that use from that project area. And so for consistency, that's part of the discussion, was in order to allow for all of those uses and for this to be included in the conditional use permit with those permitted uses, the zoning really should be consistent. And so, but yes, the planning commission discussed a number of those things, and there was clarification. I'm sure you probably want to weigh in on what might happen in the future. I don't want to speak for you, but.
Yeah, either way, I can start. So yeah, as mentioned, I'm sure there's a lot of question around what is the speed at which things may change. And our focus, like I mentioned, it was an opportunity. We were seeking an easement originally for the overhead utility, the 1247 kV line, 12.47 kV line that powers the utility for the O&M building for ACES 1. This property happened to be for sale, so the stars aligned and we were able to acquire that property for that easement. We currently have no existing plans. You mentioned caverns. We will talk a little bit later about the conditional use permits, but this was predominantly purchased for that easement for the power line. And we'll continue to use it as ag land with a lease to a local farmer.
Yeah, I mean, really, you see the core of the development is far north, right? And so for us to, be in a position where we would utilize those lands is in the far distant future. We've been working on trying to get that easement for about 2 years. So when this came up, we were really excited to have a route that we could connect to our own land to get power up to that O&M building. We're up against the schedule, so this has been a great purchase. And having the flexibility of all the lands zoned the same under property ownership as we build out that master plan is really beneficial, just to make sure that everything is uniform and we do things in a stepwise fashion. And so it's an effort to promote that uniformity across the site. Okay, thank you.
I would move, if there's no other further comments, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Yeah.
opposed?
I
Okay.
have some questions. Adam, maybe you can answer this. Maybe we have a treasurer back there. So this is actually a really good move. We want economic development, we want expansion. So this may increase our tax base, which is always helpful. So let me ask, the question is, I'm not sure, it's in Greenbelt now, it's grazing. When we change the zoning and they still lease it, do they get the Greenbelt? Or once you change the zoning, you can't have Greenbelt on industrial property?
I believe every time it changes ownership, it rolls out of Greenbelt automatically, and they have to reapply for that. And they have to show cause that it would be,
But if they actually own it but lease it, just a question.
I think the use of the land is what dictates that, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you still qualify for Greenbelt if you lease it for grazing?
We would if we chose to reapply for it. Just
So you'd
because
have to
we're leasing.
reapply.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so under circumstances, generally, we might increase our tax base with changes like this.
Was there any opposition from landowners adjacent to the property?
No. And it was unanimous, the recommendation was unanimous, and
Okay, it's good to know. Either of you have any other questions?
I would move we approve the ordinance 2410-15A.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the adoption of ordinance 24-10-15A, an ordinance of the Millard County Commission changing the zoning of approximately 436.63 acres of property located south and east of the intersection of West 7500 North Road and North 4000 West Road, Delta, from AG to HI.
Call for a roll call vote on ordinance 24-10-15A as discussed. Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Yep, I do. All right, next. 10:50 agenda item, public hearing for the purpose of receiving public comment on increasing the tourism ATV budget and other projects as necessary. All funds may be discussed and considered. Okay, those involved in that?
I'd move we open a public hearing.
Oh, yes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go into a public hearing for receiving public comment on increasing the tourism ATV budget and other projects. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Okay, so I'm just going to go through the list. I left some documents on each of your chairs this morning. This one looks like this. So the first thing, designated projects, the Recorder's Corner grant, we were granted more than what we anticipated in the budget, and so we're asking for $4,100. It's completely passed through. I don't think we're going to address anything on the senior program today, but we could if we needed to.
She gave me a number,
Okay.
but
Okay. And then in our miscellaneous account, it's really passed through, and a lot of it's for insurance claims and expenses. We've received way more revenue than we have being paid out on expenses, so we're just asking for another $20,000 to get us through, and it's passed through. And then the Millard County Fair, and right now, our invoices and whatnot's $1,500. That doesn't include payroll, but we can get into that in a little bit more detail. It'll be more than that figure. Then we go down to recreation, the TV department. We need about $1,300 for increased storage rent costs through the end of the year. And then this county option fuel tax, it was imposed by the county, and even though we don't actually ever receive any of the funds, the cities and towns throughout the county do, and because it was imposed by the county, it has to show on our records. It's 100% just a journal entry. So we're asking for $75,000 more. And then one thing that's not on there that I just became aware of is in Fund 46, a capital project. We had budgeted $16,000 for the well out at West Garrison, and Commissioner Wright brought in an invoice, and we don't have enough to cover it based on the project amount that was allocated, so that's another $22,250, the one you brought in this morning. And then the ATV budget is already, with the invoices that we have in file, is about $1,700. And then we have, a few more, about 18 plus then maybe some wages there too. So those are all the things that I'm aware of that need some housekeeping on, so.
Any questions?
is it a big deal to you if we add that the aging stuff? It's
No.
10,700.
No, that's not all. This is what it's for.
And that'll all be reimbursed, I think.
It'll be
all
reimbursed?
Through
Okay.
6 County.
Does 6 County reimburse that?
We just need to, so it's for travel expenses. And Jan did say that we just need to submit the reimbursement, and
Yeah.
they should send us the money.
Okay, so she explained that we have to pay it out and show that we've paid it out, and then we get reimbursed. So it's
Okay.
passed through.
Rachel, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I'm with the ATV Jamboree, so if there's any questions with that one, I'm here to answer those questions.
Are you still thinking about maybe having it take?
So no one has shown any interest in it, so as of right now, I am still completely in charge of it. Because we decided, as we saw this budget, we decided that I get to micromanage everything now with it, so, which is not my style, but we're gonna have to do that because, for obvious reasons, so.
They all want to be in charge, but nobody wants to be in charge.
They would love it if we would just give them a check and they could do whatever they want, but it's government money that I can't do that, so.
No. well, maybe some private company will still
Yeah.
come.
No one has
forward.
shown interest in it yet. And when we talked about it at the ATV Jamboree, they would like to help, but they don't want to be solely in charge of it. So it'll be me still.
All right, okay, thank you.
I do have a question along those lines. In determining an amount, the breakdown of her salary, part of it comes from ATV Jamboree, Rachel's salary, and part of it comes from tourism and fair. And so, as her and I were talking, she suggested maybe having you guys allocate all the rest out of tourism for the rest of the year, other than a fair conference that she's going to, it would be like a whole week, 100% of that time would be dedicated to the fair. So,
But for the rest of the year, everything now is me taking care of tourism, not like, I'm not doing anything with the ATV Jamboree for the rest of the year until we hit January. And then same with the fair. I have a fair conference, but, so if we look at our budget, you can see that there is money allocated for my salary, but we probably won't be using it because the rest of the hours I'm doing are strictly tourism related.
so if with a commitment to, the commission authorized the reallocation of her salary, and tourism budget can definitely handle that. So my calculation is $31.50 for the fair, $3,150, and then ATV Jamboree, $2,000. Do you feel good about that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Only this county option, is that $75,000 more than what we had?
Yeah, it's hard to predict.
Yeah, I know it's hard,
Yeah.
but that's in addition to what we had projected with revenues from last year, correct?
Yeah, and this is separate from what the county collects.
Yes,
This is only incorporated areas,
that passes through to the incorporated areas.
yeah,
It's their percentage.
cities, towns that get that county option fuel tax directly.
So that's a pretty significant increase, isn't it?
Yeah,
What
so
was the original projection?
let me tell you. So we had 325,000, and each quarter's running about 80,000, and we only have 62 left. So it's a high number, but again, it's 100% pass-through. No one's going to spend anything from that.
Okay.
It's 100% a journal entry, if that makes sense.
So if there's no other comments, I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right. Any further discussion?
We've already had a discussion. If there's no further discussion, I would move that we approve the suggested changes.
Second.
I would move that we approve the resolution for suggested changes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 24-10-15, a resolution of the Board of Millard County Commission increasing the tourism ATV budget and other projects as necessary. All funds may be discussed and approved and considered.
Roll call vote on resolution 24-10-15 as discussed. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rea?
Yes.
Yes.
The attachment states
I think the auditor is amending the attachment right now.
Yeah. Does that work for everybody? Okay.
All right. Okay, 11 o'clock agenda item, discussion and possible approval of Resolution 24-10-15A, a resolution of the Board of Millard County Commission adopting the FEMA fee schedule for landfill equipment.
So that was the one that we discussed last week. We just hadn't put it on for or last time, but we didn't put it on for resolution. And so it's just the way that we're going to determine the expense costs for third-party groups that we're using on our equipment, is we're going to, instead of an arbitrary number, we're going to adopt the FEMA schedule to determine what that cost rate would be, so.
Okay, thank you.
The only correction I have is that it is not just for landfill. It's if we do any equipment used with anything, it will apply to all. As we.
I'm going to make that amendment on the
Okay,
resolution right now.
you might need, you just need to take the landfill out, and it applies to all projects, equipment used by others. I mean, if the road department does something for somebody, it'll apply to that. So the schedule will apply to everybody, any use, not just in landfill.
Is that where we're getting that from? Okay. Should we move on and then come back, or should we just wait?
I got it down, but I need to send it to Kayla to print.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it's Commissioner Rice that's doing it.
It's mine? I can get rid of it, I guess.
You have too much static electricity.
Yeah, I do. Too much energy, huh?
Yeah, you're just radiating energy out.
I'll give mine to Marky. She's on the moon.
Okay.
Yeah, I move that we approve the application of those fees.
Resolution.
Approve the resolution, the application of those fees, not only for landfill, but for all projects.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution 24-10-15A, a resolution of the Board of Millard County Commission adopting the FEMA fee schedule for equipment use.
I'll roll call vote on resolution 24-10-15A as discussed. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ray?
Yes.
There is an attachment.
Should we move on while we get that printed, or should we wait? Okay, we may as well move on since we've approved it. Okay, the 11:05 agenda item, discussion and possible approval of Resolution 24-10-15B, a resolution of the Board of County Commission adopting a revised fee schedule for Millard County Fair, Days of the Old West Rodeo, and ATV Jamboree, including addressing vendor signs and ATV Jamboree refunds.
Okay, so with the ATV Jamboree, we were looking at part of the budget. And if you look at like the miscellaneous of what we've spent, we've gotten like $1,700 on miscellaneous. When I went and looked through like the breakdown, $1,000 of that was refunds, because we don't have a refund policy. So up until the day of, I had people calling me saying, we're not gonna be there, can we get a refund? Because we don't have a refund policy, I have to give them a refund. And at that point, I was already paying for vendors. I had already counted them in our numbers, because it was the date of the event. So we, went over on our catering budget because we had counted for a certain amount of people and 10 of them didn't show. Well, that's a significant amount of money. So I would like to put in a refund policy where we can do a full refund up to 60 days before the event, And then in the 60 to 30 days, you can get half, and then if it's within 30 days, you get no refund, unless there's extenuating circumstances, but
What you did, you did all the refunds requested.
yes,
What you just want to put back.
yes,
If they want to refund, they're going to have to give you.
yes, yes. Because we, like I said, we spent almost $1,000 giving back, where we had already accounted for them, that was not the only reason we went over, but,
You need a bigger window, or you got it 6 days enough?
no, because I'm already paying for things.
Well, that's what I mean, you need a.
Oh.
You need a longer time.
Well, I figured most people register in January, February, that 90 days is within 3 months. So I felt,
That's a problem.
yeah, I felt like 60 days was reasonable, that's 2 months. You should know by 2 months if you can't make it, so.
Yeah, it's definitely not fair for them to cancel out when you've already got the catering taken care of and things like that, so.
And the caterers was our biggest one. That was partly my fault. I should have asked our committee members of, how much they had budgeted, but we realized afterwards that they didn't ask the caterers how much it was per plate. So all of a sudden, I got an invoice for double what.
Part of the problem.
Yes, hence the micromanaging now. But
So you learned something.
I did, I learned, yes. The person who also did that learned something. Yeah. But yeah, so we just would like to have a policy because it was, like I said, the day of. I've already paid for T-shirts, I've paid for their food, I've accounted for these things, and now I'm giving their money back, so. And yes, this year we had more numbers than last year. We had a significant amount of more people sign up, so we had, more expenses, but it's still, $1,000 of that. I would only be like $400 over.
Just wondering if you ought to expand it 4 to 10 days or so.
I just have a suggestion on the policy, and perhaps have them sign about, as part of the registration process, what the refund policy is. They acknowledge it.
We can do that on the instant payments, because we use instant payments. We can put a check box being like, you understand the refund policy.
Yeah, that'd be
I think we
good.
talked about doing that for recreation.
Yeah, I think it's a good standard, best practices.
And like most people do 90 days, 60 days, and then 30 days before no refund. But I was like, most people are registering in March. January to March is when people are registering, so March to June, I'm like, that would be the 90 days. So that's why I was giving some leniency.
Okay. Any more questions for Rachel? Well, we still need to discuss the vendor signs at the,
Yeah, I'm just ATV Jamboree today.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So, vendor signs at the rodeo arena. Did we ever find any contracts or anything on?
So let me talk through this, and I have a copy if you need to look at this. This is the amended version, but this policy that you're looking at, it used to have verbiage at the bottom saying that if you're buying one of these packages, it's displayed year-round, and then it talks about the option to purchase a 3-year contract. So I'm sure that's where this idea or this expectation of a contract came in. The way I have it revised is so that it says if you purchase a package, you do get to display it for all rodeo events year-round. And there's still a provision in there that will honor the past 3-year locked-in contracts. If you want me to make changes, I can still do that, but all of that will be on pages, it's gonna be just about the second to last page where it talks about the packages. And at the very bottom, it states explicitly that it's for rodeo events only.
Yeah, I see that, that's good.
So I know when we were discussing this last time, I had a business owner text me while we were discussing it and said, well, if you guys take it away and only do it for Days of Old West Rodeo, I'm not gonna do it at all. So I called him afterwards and said, well, what are you getting? What else are you expecting to get? Because we don't hold any events in there. And he kind of didn't know what to say because we don't hold any other events. But this base, because the only other events, Bill, Buckaroo Rodeo and High School Rodeo, right?
We have Little Bridges, we have, stick my name to it officially. Bill Lister, Maintenance Assistant Supervisor for the West Side. So we have the Fifth and Under Rodeo. We do have the Little Britches Rodeo. Sometimes we do have people come in there and rent it for roping. We do have the High School Rodeo also in there. Now there is talk of the Derby, and there is possibility of some other things that could go in there. You know, if we do it, we did have the circus in there also. So, I mean, as far as the signs, if we could come up with a way like, you know, talking to Justin and them after where they were doing the Derby is versus having to remove them all the time, if we could come up with something to cover them, or if they're making banners, their banners go over them, because that's a lot of maintenance to pull and replace those signs every year. And, you know, other than that, you know, they could, I mean, if they're there because somebody's free riding, that's fine. But if somebody comes in for an event, they're like, well, we can't get sponsor money from them because it's already up. So if we make just a sheet that goes over it, just a, you know, something like that, to where if somebody comes in, they're available for them to cover them and put theirs on, or they can put them over the top.
And I think this resolution covers what I would say should satisfy the rodeo people that are going out and get advertisement, because we're going to still cover everything that they've had covered for the last 10 years. You just mentioned all the rodeos, and that's the only thing going on there currently. We just want the Derby or the circus or anybody else who comes in
To be able to get their sponsors,
get
yes.
their sponsorship. So I don't think the rodeo group should be bothered by this, because it's still going to cover everything, like I said, that they've had covered.
Yep.
But it allows us to go forward and put some more events.
Yeah, and the other thing, if we can find something to cover them that are there for the other entities, that takes away the liability of us removing them, putting them up, and any damage happening to that, it still leaves it on the rodeo committee that they're their signs. So if they want to move them around or change them, they do that, and all we're doing is allowing somebody to put a banner over the top or a sheet to cover if that entity doesn't sponsor their event.
Yeah, and I don't know, because the rodeo group does pay for all those signs. So I don't know if it needs to be in this resolution, like if damage occurs to the sign, like if they're using Overson's sign at the Derby, but it's a rodeo sign, they still want to go ahead and pay for it, but if it gets damaged, the Derby should pay for a new sign.
Definitely.
Maybe a rental charge for the use of the sign, because the rodeo group is,
Yeah, if the rodeo is going to allow them to use the signs that exist, like you said, Overson's sponsors a lot, it doesn't make sense to make a new banner if it's already there.
No.
You know, because that would actually give whatever entity a little more money because it's already there. But yes, a definite rental to the rodeo would be good.
but I don't know if that needs to be part of this, or just.
Like just responsibilities for repair, because who's going to be removing them?
Well, so I think we're just going to leave them up.
Okay.
But this resolution says, hey, if we have events coming in.
So this resolution allows them to cover.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it allows them,
It doesn't talk about a manner
yeah.
where they won't be displayed. It just says that the only guarantee they have is that they will be displayed for rodeo events. Yes.
And I think that's fine, leaving it there for now, as long as the rodeo understands that expectation. So if they show up at an event, and they see their signs covered,
Yes.
they understand it.
So now, with the question on that is where will that come? Who's going to pay for the coverings? Is it going to come out of maintenance budget? Is it going to come out of rodeo budget? Where would that come out of so we could get those, you know, in case we do have an event?
I don't know, because Justin's just going to put American flags over all of them.
Okay.
So I think that'll just be like a,
Well, that covers Justin, but what about future events like the circus and all them, if they want them covered? Should we look into something and maybe try to work it into our budget this year to cover them, or? Our budget's coming up, I just want to know.
I'd say let's just, unless you know the circus is coming to town next year, because I don't know what to do there. I'm
Look at it case by case.
If they stay up, if the circus says,
Yeah,
we're not
that's-
worried about sponsorship, then.
Yeah.
then we just leave, we're gonna leave the signs up here on because it's too big of a pain to take them all up and down
Yes.
every time. So,
Just go case by case then?
yeah, just go, as long as the rodeo has that expectation that the only three that they will never be covered up for are the rodeo events.
Sounds good, thank you.
Let me just run something by you right now. Right now, it says pursuant to resolution, the one in front of you, advertising at the Millard County Arena is event-specific. Arena vendor signs that are purchased as part of the Days of the Old West Rodeo package will be displayed for rodeo events only. 3-year packages purchased prior to the adoption of this resolution will be honored. I'm just going to add excluding new events, because you had mentioned that, so I want to make that clear.
So at least how many 3-year contracts have you got?
I have no idea.
See, and I think the 3-year contract,
I mean,
the 3-year contract thing is that you're getting this price and this discount for the next 3 years.
So I think Trevor's,
I think
I
we have
think
to
you ought to
honor.
honor it, but I think Trevor's point is that their expectation hasn't been these new events like the rodeo, or sorry, the derby, etc. So they're gonna keep getting exactly what they've anticipated getting. But you're still honoring it, because really what they're getting locked into is a reduced price for their 3-year term. So it's not gonna affect this.
So what it is, Bill, they come to you and say, hey, do you want to sponsor the rodeo? If you do 3 years, you can pay $500 a year. Or if you want to sign up for 3 years, we'll charge you $400 a year. That's what the contract is. It's not a contract
Sponsoring the
either.
rodeo then. It's
Yeah.
not the- We're changing the arena sponsorship to just a rodeo sponsorship.
Yeah.
For the signs. Correct?
But more than likely, we'll just leave the signs up year round, but it just gives us the,
The opportunity to cover them.
now if the rodeo gets upset and wants to come and take them up and down every time, then go right ahead. But I'm fine with them, personally, I'm fine with them just staying in year round.
I think it's better to leave them up and just cover them.
It is.
Or use them if they're same sponsorships.
Okay, thank you.
I just emailed that revised exhibit, so that should be printed very soon.
Before the policy for the fee schedule from the days, or for the fair stuff, we probably should have Elise look at it, and Bonnie and I just review and make sure that there's numbers for like a return check fee should be in there, right? If there's a return check schedule and stuff like that. So just FYI, we should be able to probably look at that policy before it's adopted, and then make sure that it's covering everything that we need to have in that policy, so.
Okay.
So should we put this on the next agenda?
Yeah,
Okay,
table.
thank you. Yeah, it's good to think of all these different things, because there's a lot to consider here. All right, well, will you pass that back to us? Okay, we'll move on to the 11:10 agenda item, discussion and possible approval of C2 conditional use permit amendment application Z-2024-049, amending existing conditional use permit Z-2017-033/Z-2020-044, large-scale project for an electrical generating facility. In other words, bulk energy generation and storage. Marky, they've got it.
Okay, I've got it, and I'm connecting it on to it now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning again. Jared Renner, Operations Director for ACES Delta.
Tiffany James, I'm a consultant with ACES Delta.
Which one would you like me to put up?
Should be the ACES.
ACES Delta Holdings. Yep. I don't know if this will show on the screen slightly. Yeah.
That is the next one.
Yeah, that'll be the next one. The,
Those are the only three that I have.
That one right there.
Yep, the-
First is over.
the first
Oh,
one,
okay.
first, yeah, the first attachment, there you go. Thank you. All right, so this is a relatively simple request to update the boundaries and some of the clarification on attachment F in the existing CUP. So I've got some history of the CUP as well as some detail on the revisions that we're requesting to make. As a note, this did also go to the Planning and Zoning Commission and received a unanimous favorable decision to proceed.
So you're just expanding the boundaries?
So we are expanding the boundaries to include all.
The original conditional use permit allowed you to do what you're doing already, you're just expanding the boundaries.
Correct.
To another.
Yeah, to the full property.
Yep, so.
We're not changing what you're.
No, scope.
We're saying you can do it one place.
Right. Scope and intent of the original.
Yeah.
Just more places.
More
Right.
places, that's a great way to say it.
Yep, so scope and intent of the original CUP remains the same. We are just trying to standardize all the properties into one footprint so that we're consistent across the board. So as you're probably aware, this CUP was initially approved in 2018, received a revision in 2020 to include the partnership between Magnum Development and Mitsubishi Power in anticipation of the ACES 1 project that's currently underway. And then, just as a note, Chevron acquired Magnum Development in September of '23. So that's some of the history. If we can scroll to the next slide, please. As you'll note, on the map on the right, we're proposing to expand that boundary to include the new property that we previously discussed, as well as some of the property to the east. And this will be consistent across both CUPs that we discussed. We're also revising the language on the development summary and attachment F to be more consistent with current technology and plans for growth on this property so that we're not misleading anybody that may pick up this attachment and read it and question numbers and terminology. So that includes the number of and description of the electrolyzers that are in the buildings. So previously it referenced a number of blocks. Now we're clarifying that based off the technology that's been selected for the ACES 1 project to be more clear, consistent with how the property is being developed. So we currently have 20 electrolyzers per building. There's 10 trains per building. We have 2 of those buildings. So it gets kind of confusing if you look at the specifics of the number. So trying to be more clear and more accurate with the language that's used in attachment F. We've also increased the number of caverns to reflect the planned development from 15 to 18. Clarified additional language around compression, liquefaction, and dehydration of hydrogen and potentially other products. Included brine management facility language to include treatment, processing, and evaporation. That's so that we can look to recycle and reuse all of our existing commodities on site. Added definition for other product generation, transportation, and distribution, as well as language on the rail and truck transloading for hydrogen and other projects and products. Any questions on those specific changes? So to kind of highlight, I don't know if you can see the pointer, but you can see this area here on the right of the slide, and the new property that we previously discussed is what we're looking to include in the boundaries of this CUP that was previously excluded. Oh, and yeah, thank you, Tiffany. That purple section up at the top was also excluded, so right here.
How many caverns did you mention you were planning out, 18?
18, yes, sir.
How many potential caverns?
That would depend on the size, depth, size, and the pillar requirements. So we will continue to comply with all the regulatory requirements of the caverns. Giving you a specific number is probably misleading, but most people would say somewhere between 60 and 100 caverns, given the current development size that you see between Sawtooth and ACES 1.
Adam, do you have any comments or suggestions? Yeah.
So just with our conditional use permits, we usually have pretty good discussion on what the scope of the projects are, but ultimately, they're approved uses, but we do evaluate to see if there's impacts that are either to the surrounding property owners or to the county, or just general practices which may not be covered elsewhere. And so these conditional use permits, this one and the next, actually have a very extensive history. The number of conditions is probably, it might seem a little bit extreme, but there's several dozen conditions, and everything is considered from, oh goodness, from emergency response to required permits to a number of different plans to help monitor and ensure that the operations are being done in a manner that is safe and lessens any impacts to the county.
So there's plenty of parole.
And there's a lot of, it's not just things that they, there are many. There's also a number of things that they are required to do. And so they perform a large number of activities to comply, and then they evidence that to us on a regular basis. So the conditions that are already in place, where these are similar activities to what has been going on, what's been discussed previously, this is a little bit of a change in the permit area and maybe the configuration, but nothing that hasn't been contemplated and nothing that's not already covered through the conditions that have already been established. So the recommendation was basically, from the Planning Commission, was to go ahead and leave the existing conditions, which cover all those areas, in place, with the exception of one. When this permit was very first issued, there was some uncertainty as to whether or not this project was going to proceed, and there was a built-in poison pill of a deadline that if they didn't do something, then the permit was just going to expire. And this is, of course, before we saw a lot of stuff happen out there. But there was a suggestion that requirement that a building permit be issued for a project, or we're going to expire the permit, that one could probably be omitted moving forward. That was just to ensure that something happened, and we're pretty sure something has.
So just, thank you for that, Adam. One point of clarification, that expiration is tied to the Magnum gas storage.
Oh, did I say the wrong one?
So
I got these backwards,
He's
sorry.
priming you for the next discussion.
Yes, no, thank you for that.
Still no.
I have these backwards in my hand, so that I'm on
Easily
top.
confused, yeah.
They do have similar conditions.
Well, just on that point, we do, as Adam said, there are similar conditions between each of the projects that Magnum, formerly known as Magnum ACES now, built. So this permit, the gas storage permit we'll be talking about next, and even Sawtooth, we did a really robust review with the county in 2018. The county engaged a third-party consultant, and we went through and we created standardized conditions so that each of these projects, as they roll out, will have that same level of compliance and oversight with the county, as well as with the federal and state agencies that are applicable. And so I think that's important to know.
Yeah, so this slide, much to what Adam has already referenced, is the scope and intent that we previously discussed is not changing. We're staying consistent with the original scope and intent. We've received previous or prior approval under the CUP in past years. As Tiffany mentioned, the county has already evaluated potential impacts to the community and the environment for these authorized technology and facility types. And we have robust and standardized conditions incorporated into the CUP to mitigate potential impacts, as do the conditions for the other state agency permits. As we've mentioned, this is not a new organization in the community. ACES Delta has a proven track record with the county constructing facilities both with Sawtooth and now Advanced Clean Energy Storage 1, ACES 1. And then lastly, there's one more slide, please. So economic benefit to the county, just want to highlight some of the considerations. As we've mentioned, since 2012, we've been building facilities in this area, focused on the energy development in the area. Approval of the requested amendment will allow ACES Delta to capture additional market opportunities real time. So as technologies grow and expand, looking for opportunities to capture those potential investors real time rather than seeking several different approvals through this venue. And then cumulative benefits with each business, which I think we've talked about in the past, but depending on the technology type and how we construct it, roughly 200 to 300 jobs, temporary construction jobs in the area for the major phases, potential for permanent operations and competitive wages with these jobs that we add to each of the facilities, potential additional sales, property, and income tax revenue. A big one, the SITLA lease royalties contributing to the Millard County school children. Priority on local hires, suppliers, and services. So we have a focus on making sure that we use the capabilities from the local talent that we have here in the county, and potential third-party development of other service businesses to support contract resources to maintain and provide modifications as we continue to service these facilities. And I think that's it. Yes, sir.
I guess how many employees do you have now? I'm sure there's one people employed through your contract.
Right. So today, if you look at our on-site resources for the construction phase, we have roughly 260, 270 people. We have, those are contractors. We also, well, that includes our on-site consultants too that are overseeing the project management. And then we also have, we have 20 dedicated operations and maintenance, management and operators on site. That is the goal, right? Is as we grow these businesses that we acquire more talent locally. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Ready for a motion?
I think so.
I would move that we approve the amendment to the C2 conditional use permit, amendment Z-2017-003 and Z-2020-004.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve C2 conditional use permit amendment application Z-2024-049, amending existing conditional use permit Z-2017-033 and Z-2020-044, large-scale project for electrical generating facility. All those in, whoops, guess we, do we do a roll call? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to the next one while you're still here.
All right.
The 11:15 agenda item, discussion and possible approval of C2 conditional use permit amendment application Z-2024-048, amending existing conditional use permit Z-2010-008 and Z-2017-032, large-scale project for natural or manufactured gas storage.
All right, so good morning again. Jared Renner, ACES Delta Operations Director.
And Tiffany James, consultant with ACES Delta.
So again, as we started discussing in the last topic, this conditional use permit has been in place or was in place since 2011, whenever it was originally established. And then it was amended a few different times. One, to include the Sawtooth Caverns as that project got underway and developed. And then again in 2014 to exclude the Sawtooth Caverns whenever they were divested from the Magnum portfolio. And then once again, it was amended in 2018 to revise the site layout and standardize the conditions across all the storage cavern businesses that were proposed. In 2021, ACES 1 construction started under the previous CUP that we discussed, 2017-33 and 20-10-08, and in which this particular CUP expired in May of 23. Our goal here today is to reinstate this pre-existing CUP with slight amendments to include the full property boundary like we did in CUP 2017-033. So, yeah, on this map, you can see the permit boundary we're proposing now includes all of the properties that we previously discussed. You can kind of see it's hard to make out in the black lines, but all the properties in the black lines are now included in this proposal. The layout of the facilities and all infrastructure that was previously approved remains the same, no scope or intent changes with the actual facility layout. Millard County did evaluate the potential community environmental impacts, as we previously mentioned, in 2011, 2015, 2018, and 2020 for those facility types in each of those amendments. And then other required federal and state permits maintained since 2011. This particular CUP was, I guess, reduced in the priority level, and that's why it was allowed to expire. Now with new opportunities in the gas storage business field with the partnership between Chevron, Mitsubishi, and the pre-existing Magnum organization, there's a lot more opportunity to grow this business. That's why we're seeking to reinstate. So much, as I mentioned previously, the basis for reinstating this CUP is based off the pre-existing permit conditions and impact potentials that have been mitigated. The new request is consistent with the original CUP 2010-008 for the intent and the scope. We have an existing robust regulatory oversight with the federal and state agencies and permits. The proposed Magnum gas storage project is consistent with Millard County's general plan, zoning ordinance, and development goals. The project is located on Sitla lands or within Sitla lands, concentrated area of the heavy industrial zoned lands next to the IPP power plant. Both Millard County and Sitla support concentrated industrial development in this area to maintain rural character and small town atmosphere. So that's where we're keeping the industrial area north, approximately 10 miles north of the Delta City Center, and potential additional benefits in to the community and the economy. So as I mentioned, the Magnum gas storage project, the priority kind of fell off whenever ACES 1 was the focus there, getting that project off the ground, and some decline in the market for natural gas storage. That has since changed, and there's a more viable business model that can be explored today. So as I mentioned, we have partnerships existing with Chevron and Mitsubishi on the ACES 1 project, and we're looking to grow, or that's the goal, is to grow in the natural gas storage as well. And it allows Magnum or Chevron and Mitsubishi to pursue additional opportunities. Economic benefits are much the same as I mentioned previously. As these different business models are developed, roughly 200 to 300 temporary construction jobs, potential additional permanent operating and management positions, additional Sitla lease royalties contributing to the education programs and the Millard County school children, priority for local hire suppliers services, and future growth of those service organizations to support a long-term business such as this. Any questions?
So what, in your opinion, kind of was changed? Originally, you were looking at storage, and then obviously it wasn't a priority, but because of the market or something.
Yeah.
What is your potential with that much storage, and now it seems to be there's more property? Is there just more interest in businesses that don't use the work?
There's,
I was going to say, so a lot, what has changed a lot of is the infrastructure is there, right? These are such capital-intensive projects, and they're so remotely located. In order to be able to build a new business like this, you've got to have a contract that'll support it. IPP allowed us that with ACES 1. Well, now that we've got a lot of this infrastructure in, yeah, it was really hard, yeah. And especially since the gas market went down, right? So price of gas made it the economics even more unattainable. And so now we've got, the wind in our sails from ACES 1. We've got more infrastructure out there. We've got a partner, a new owner, Chevron, this is in their wheelhouse, and so this opportunity is very viable. We're working with the FERC again. We've never let go of that original federal permit with the FERC, which is for gas storage. We're renewing it right now. It's still in effect. And as part of that, we have upkept our other state permits, and this is one of those. So.
Seems like to me, several years ago when we headed down this road, they wanted to go from coal to solar and go right past the gas line. It seems like.
Yeah.
Now they're deciding, maybe we can't do that.
Yeah.
So the gas market,
Yeah.
the gas market has become significantly more important, which they thought, well, we could just move right through it, but I think that
Need a base load, right?
they can't, they gotta have it.
Yeah.
That's probably usable interest.
Yeah, absolutely, and as you're stating, that pendulum tends to swing, quite frequently on a 2, 4, 6-year period, right? And there's definitely a more viable business there.
People looking to it more than they was.
Yep, yep.
So Adam, come ahead.
So I guess it'd be a little bit more appropriate now to mention that there was one condition that was recommended. This is, the comments would be applicable to both. And as these continue to change, just maybe a comment, minor changes that are anticipated, that happen, largely this is what's allowed to happen there. The details on how it's configured, if they move a building around, if there's a pipe that moves somewhere and they've had to change a layout, those are minor changes. And so those are changes that can be, we review that administratively and determine if it's a minor change or not. Those do not have to come back to this body. Things that would have to come back to this body for a future amendment would be things that were not contemplated and included in the permit or boundary changes. So this would have fallen in that category. They're increasing on the other permit, and this permit, they're both changing boundaries. So these would have come before. But as far as if they had pulled a building permit for about anything, it would have checked the box and the permit would not have expired. So they hadn't, the other conditions of the permit have been met. And generally speaking, when we do have a conditional use permit, we don't often expire them because if someone's going to start and they are meeting the permit, they generally will be able to continue to do that, even if.
It's unusual to me that I don't really never heard of that
If
before.
we change the zoning, if we change the rules, if we do something else, generally that becomes a use that's allowed to continue until it's abandoned. And so it's rare that we would do that, but in this instance we did, and that's why it was worth mentioning that it was recommended that we strike that one condition and leave all the others as previously laid out.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that, Adam. As we mentioned, the focus on the capital deployment and the resources were all towards ACES 1. That's why that focus on getting a building permit pulled and something built was not there.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve conditional use or C2 conditional use permit amendment application Z 2024-48.
You going to second it? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve C2 conditional use permit amendment application Z-2024-048, amending existing conditional use permit Z 2010-008 and Z-2017-032, large-scale project for natural or manufactured gas storage. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. I do have a question for you guys, unrelated to this. The other day, a lady talked to me and said that since they're doing road construction on Brush Wellman, that they don't go down that road in the morning, they come around and use Jones Road. And there where the turn is, where all of the lights are off to the northwest, where ACES is, they said it's really hard to see the road at that, and when it's dark, because of the lights coming, the street lights. And I don't know if there's anything that can be done. I don't know if we could put street lights up on the road that shine on the road. They just were a little concerned that it's hard to see the road with those streetlights in the background there.
Okay, so it's more of the stuff going on at the construction site.
Yes.
We haven't installed any permanent lighting on the facility just yet. That's
Okay.
underway, but it's probably the temporary portable light tower. So I can talk to the construction team about placement of those to make sure they're not pointing towards the road where it's feasible for work execution.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Okay. We need a 5-minute break now. We'll take a 5-minute break and then come back to recess, sorry, and then come back and continue on. Stretch your legs.
It isn't quite what you'd like it to be.
So this is what I'm doing for our artwork chart. So I'm gonna break it all down like this. And then I'm gonna add enough information, so what I do is actually use this as kind of education.
Okay. Okay, we will get started back up. It was nice to stretch our legs for a minute. Now we're at the 11:20 agenda item, discussion and possible approval of the 2025 Millard County Employee Benefits Package Structure.
Okay, so we have a net 0% increase on our medical benefits, which is awesome. However, it's net, so the traditional went up 2% and the high deductible went down 1.6. And because of the structure of how the county pays out the benefit plan, it needs to be discussed on if you want to keep it this 85-15 split. So, and I gave you some papers, looks like this, kind of a chart. Something like that, like this one. So that front page has, if we keep it 85-15% split, this is what it would look like. The second page is the rate sheet from PHP, and then the third page is the current benefit package. So what it would change is it would still cost the county at the same split level additional $40,000 a year because they pay the benefit for the more expensive plan at 85%. The difference for those on the high deductible goes into an HSA. So that would increase and therefore a net increase to the county of $40,000. So our question to you is if you want to fund that at the same level that we've been funding the 85-15 split. A couple other items to note is Opticares and Standard Optical is no longer in business thanks to HR. They've helped contact there's only 15 members on that. The rest, and its vision is 100% voluntary. The other 70 are on IMED. That's the only vision that we'll be offering come January 1. Dental went up minor. The increase for dental is around $2,000 for the county, not a lot.
I know a lot of places do an 80-20 split. Do these guys offer that?
Yeah, it's whatever you want to do. We just have to make sure that it meets what they call MEC. It's minimal coverage under the ACA laws. And what we do is we look at the lowest paid person that's benefited and make sure that it meets that threshold. And we could look at that and see to make sure the high deductible meets that minimum essential coverage.
I mean, it's nice to have an 85-15. I don't know if there are any other companies that in the future we might want to look at to see if we can get a better deal from them.
Yeah, well, we went out to bid last year because, yeah, we did. We went out to bid and PHP came back with a 0%. This is actually 2 years in a row with a 0%, which is really good. The lowest that they've seen anywhere else, our brokers was, I think it was 7 or 8%. So.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that, but it kind of.
And the big one is the medical, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the lion's share of the benefit.
And I understand it's a net zero, but they're kind of.
Yeah. And I can give you a breakdown of how many are enrolled in the, last time I checked, it was about 50-50. I think it's less than that on the traditional.
Okay.
Let me see.
I don't think we're going to find anything better right now, but.
Yeah, and there really is no time, because we pay a month in advance, so all of November, pay for December, so to stay on track with open enrollment through Navigator, we pretty much have to give them 3 weeks lead plus,
yeah,
so. Yes. Correct.
So the coverage will pretty much stay the same except for the vision, right?
Right.
Okay. And I think people are probably pretty happy with the insurance coverage. I don't have it, so I don't really know, but
I make a motion to approve the 2025 county employee benefits package structure.
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the 2025 Millard County employee benefits package structure. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I would just recommend that that's communicated in place.
Sure, we can do that. They're just, we have
We
to,
do this several times.
yeah.
It's no secret, everybody says we're not doing nothing. So actually, we are doing something.
Yeah, well, every single year we send out a summary of benefits, total compensation with their W-2, so it states how much is paid for all their benefit package in it, so it's been communicated for sure. Plus, we can have somewhat of a passive enrollment, but if you're enrolled in an HSA or a flex, you have to get in to change those amounts, or they'll just drop off every single year. So,
Also could make it part of their, the merit banding evaluations to talk about that total compensation, just so that we're aware of what, what that real cost really is, right?
You'd be good at doing that.
Yeah,
There's a real cost that nobody sees.
right.
And it is a good package.
yeah, and there was one other thing I wanted to mention. I got the split texted to me without even asking. YouTube's awesome. Approximately 70 employees are on the HSA and 44 on the traditional. So the majority is seeing that increase.
Okay.
There's also a plan that we'd like to propose adding on. It works well with Navigator, so it's not a lot of work for our office, but it's this last page. It's a supplemental hospital indemnity accident plan. It's 100% voluntary. It's just if we have enough interest, if our employees want to enroll in that, we have to have two. The very last page. We just have to have at least 2 enrolled, and then if there's interest in this, we can do more next year and it's 100% voluntary, but then the premiums go anywhere from $14.80 to $43 a month with the following schedule, like they pay out for hospital stays or admission. If anyone already is already expecting, all the pre-existing conditions are waived, so they automatically would, if we're enrolling next year, they would automatically get some payout on that insurance plan, accident plan.
So I'm guessing this would pretty much pick up the 15%.
If it meets those criteria on that schedule. Well, the 15 comes out of their check, but then their deductible, it would help them pay their deductible for an accident, yes. So,
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions?
So, maximum of 4 per family, do you have to identify what family you're
I don't, is that what, let me get my glasses back on.
What if you have more than that? You pick and choose who you want to, the most.
Yeah, I don't know, this,
Pick and choose the most dangerous kids.
that's a funny
You
one.
have to buy 3 family plans.
I'm not sure how that works. We'll have to check into that. I got this emailed to me yesterday. It's just a basic accident plan, and we can have all that information available for sure. No cost to the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. 1125 agenda item, discussion, disclosure, and possible approval of contractor and moving forward with East Millard Pool Building Addition Project.
Yeah, so last time we met, he asked me to go and get engineered and stamped plans for the project and then reopen it to bid. So we got the plans, we got them stamped and engineered, and we've been trying to reach out to several companies to submit a bid. The only one that gave us a telephone bid was B&J Construction, and we reached out to a couple others. The other one that came and did the walkthrough bid with us basically said, I don't want it, give it to B&J Construction, and then we haven't heard anything from anybody else. So I guess just coming up, asking if we could just move forward with B&J Construction so that we can try to get the project done by the end of the year, so.
Did I once hear that Fillmore City was kind of opposed to that, to this addition, or did I not hear that correctly?
I've got the building permit already through Fillmore City, so,
Okay, I guess we're good then.
yeah, I've got the permit number and the plans, so.
How much is it?
14.5.
I make a motion to approve B&J Construction for construction of East Millard swimming pool.
You said it's 14.5?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve B&J Construction for the contractor for the Millard pool addition for $14.5 thousand. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Thanks.
Okay, 11:30 agenda item, opening of bids for the outdoor arena concrete project.
And just for the record, related party transaction on that one has been disclosed, right? And there's no policy prohibiting it at this time.
There's not one at this time. Has it been disclosed?
Yeah.
At the last meeting? Or just now?
I don't know which meeting.
Yeah, it would have been like 3 meetings ago.
I know this is a recurring issue, so I do think it is something the Millard County Commission should look at revising as a policy about transactions under the procurement code with persons who may have an interest.
Okay.
Going forward, but that won't affect this.
Yeah, we know, at least it was presented, so.
I can take it.
About the conflict of interest.
So we received 2 bids. This one was delivered in person. This one is Phillips Builders. Okay, this one, owner is Bart Phillips out of Cedar City, and it's $72,000 even. $72,000 even. And then we also received an email bid through the Millard bids email, and this one is from Stanworth Construction out of Delta, and it's $34,040. Price does not include frost protection. 15% will be added if blankets are required. Bid is good for 60 days. Stanworth Construction.
And it was
$34,040.
Wow. I like that.
Will we need that protection on it?
What do you have on there for protection?
15%
adder for if you had to use blankets for.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
15%.
So that brings up something we were going to ask. I know we're opening today, but is there any way if we decide to go forward that we could get it approved so we wouldn't have to worry about that protection? He could get it poured before winter.
Let me look at something real quick.
if we approved it soon, they should be able to be okay.
Yeah, Travis should be able to, whoever, what gets there, we tell them we need it done, pretty quick, so.
My advice would be to wait. I mean, there's still several agenda items, if you can go evaluate the bid during those to make sure that it's responsive on the agenda.
It wasn't noticed?
Oh, to approve.
Just
Right,
opening it.
yeah. And it's typical that we only have, we open and accept the bids, and then we award it on another meeting.
Yeah.
So you got only 2 bids, or is there one?
No, there's just 2 bids, but he asked a question on budget.
So we're supposed to have 3. I remember I had 2 bids 2 or 3 weeks ago, and nobody approved them for the scale, because we needed 11.
They were not submitted through my office, which is a requirement of the procurement code.
So if they go through her office, we just take whatever we get.
They go to your, okay,
Yeah, I mean,
all right.
How cold does that have to get before
I didn't
you
understand that.
yeah.
have to use the blanket?
They worry about freezing, so anytime it freezes, that's when they have to use the blanket.
Because I know it's going to start freezing this weekend.
It does give off some heat as it cures, though, too.
So nothing has been used in that, the ones that you repurposed, and the total budget there is $50,500. So you have some wiggle room if that's the only project you're going to do.
Well, we got that, and then we had the Black Widow that I think was coming
Right.
out of that. So we should still have enough money in that budget to do the protection if we need to, so.
No way we can do it until the next. 'cause we're-
I think it's a legal question.
We're 3 weeks out on our next commission meeting.
This is a leash question. We've only got, we usually don't, I remember one time we did, because I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean,
Usually we
the risk you run is that there's a problem and you haven't had a chance to, fully evaluate it. And then there is the notice issue, which I know has been solved in the past by, if it really is emergent, approving it now and ratifying later. But I think the larger issue is to make sure that there's no problems or issues. What could possibly be the increase in price?
The only increase would be, like she said, the protection to cover it for the frost.
Do you have any idea?
About $4,500.
$4,500?
Yeah.
Which is included in, I mean, you've got the budget coverage. However, and if there's another bid, I'm not aware of, and we allow email bids too, so. But 2 of us checked our email, 2 of us have access to it, and we have not received any other bids.
I think we're okay with just the 2, since that's all that came in.
Ultimately, it's going to be up to the commission to decide if $4,500 is worth potentially missing something without evaluating it. That
Neither
is,
of them look very thick. I'm wondering if you guys could take 15, 20 minutes while we're doing this, and at the end of the commission meeting, we approve it.
It's a good idea.
Is that?
I think that's
I'm-
at least do that, yeah.
Is that enough time to look over it and decide if everything looks
and maybe double check.
adequate?
Yeah, well, are you looking at going with Mr. Stansworth? Okay.
That's what I'm leaning.
Well, that's what we want you to do, is go make sure that Mr. Stanley is giving us.
Yeah, what happens is, you guys haven't seen the bids, you need to make sure that the bids are apples and apples, not apples and oranges. And what Lisa's suggesting, what we've done, lots of times we get bids within a few $100,000. So there's some due diligence in looking at that bid for longer. We have a big discrepancy in this big, I'm not sure looking at it longer is really gonna bring it closer.
Yeah.
I don't mind moving forward.
Well, as long as they're
Very much on there.
using the right formula of concrete and got the right rebar and
Make sure
stuff.
you have the right amount of space, and that's the only reason we normally went through today. You need to make sure that what they did
I would recommend that Adam probably looks that over
consistent.
also.
Yeah, we can look at it for 15, 20 minutes and then come back.
Yeah, go up there and.
Clint, just make sure it's.
And have Adam
make
look
sure
at it
these
too.
are specs. That's all. Yeah.
It would be nice to get it poured soon, though.
You just have to ask yourself if $4,500 is worth potentially.
Yeah, I mean, we want it done right, for sure. But if we need to pay the $4,500 to get it covered, that's no big deal.
I mean, I think that's definitely worth considering because it's $4,500.
Yeah.
So if it's your next administration, it's $30,000 more. I don't think it's a huge loss.
And I'm fine with saying, yeah, if you need to cover it, we'll give you the 4,500. It'd just be nice to get it done before it gets real cold.
Particularly when it's already gonna freeze, like, I mean, I guess there's no guarantee that you're not gonna have to make that up anyways.
Yeah.
So I think probably the next meeting is the best thing to do, especially because Bonnie said there's potentially a little bit.
Is there potential?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's great. Well, let's move on. They're going to go with that.
Okay, yeah. Let's go to the 11:35 agenda item. Discussion and possible approval of a road use agreement with Trans West.
Elise wants to hold off on this one, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
is anyone here for Transwest? Okay, the only thing is it specifically addresses a road near Lindell. That's going to be the subject of a street vacation hearing on November 12th. And I know there's been discussion about a private use agreement between the owners and Transwest, and I think the county ought to hold off until
Okay.
that's executed.
Yeah.
And then consider this one again.
Okay. Do you think we'll be ready by the next meeting, or should we wait even longer?
You know what, Denton was supposed to reach out to someone from Transwest, and he couldn't catch him, so he doesn't know what the status is. They may very well be negotiating it right now. I just have no idea what the timeline is.
So should we just take it off and wait till we know more when to put it back on?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. All right, the 11:35 agenda item, we are going to postpone that till we have a better time to discuss that one. Okay, the 11:40 agenda item, discussion and possible approval of Leamington Tower site agreement with Centricom.
The Centricom?
Yeah, I spoke to him on the phone, and he's okay with it going on the next meeting.
Okay. We're moving that to the next.
Move that to the next meeting, okay? It's okay, because we're going long today anyway. Okay, 11:45 agenda item, presentation of the 2024 Statement of Tax Certification and Summary.
So this is one I also left on your desks this morning. By statute, I just need to present to you the tax roll certification. The tax roll has been balanced with all the appeals that have been granted thus far and all the circuit breaker and tax abatements. So this is the tax, that value that has been charged by district on that first page. It looks like this. There's a lot of things I left there. But, so it's by area, by taxing authority area. And then there's a little summary, and you can look through and see the amount of abatements that each tax area was given by circuit veteran. So for our senior citizens, and those that applied for a hardship. So, and then the second grouping is an abatement summary, also by age. And then also to disclose, this is all of our BOE and taxable value that you've approved thus far. It's a big spreadsheet that's color, this one. And if you look at the last page, so in market value, $4,882,039 has been taken off, and then $5,337,340 has been taken off in taxable value. On the last page, market value, over $4.8 million. It's been, yes, and $5.3 million on taxable value. So those values have been adjusted off the original tax roll. And the sheet that you have,
All the items and uses
that you've already approved. So at this point, we like to have,
adjusted that down off the income in the original.
off the value, yes, off the, yep. And so we like to have the tax roll closed at this time, but it's not. But we have a few more items to address in BOE today. But that gives you a value. And then that difference, I wanted to explain with the tax roll certification how the tax rate works a little bit more. So with those values, the value is already set and our tax rate's already set because it floats based on the value that's turned in at that time in May, right? Or June. And then we have a BOE rate that's factored in, that's going to be factored in next year. So the year before last, it was 0.1558%. And the more that's given or corrections, that drives that rate up. So now we're looking at, and it's a rate that's a 3-year average for all the abatements are included and all the appeals are included in that BOE rate. So everybody pays that much more the next year, over the next 3 years. Does that make sense? So the more that's given off, everybody pays a little bit more going forward. So our rate now is 1.26, so it went up quite a bit.
1.26? Did you tell me the previous was 1.55?
0.155.
That's quite an increase.
Yeah.
To 1.26?
Yeah, 10 times.
Yeah, it was quite an increase, but we had conversion errors. I mean, we had substantially more appeals last year, even though this year is still high. It's not nearly as much as last year was.
So the appeals this year are not as much as last year?
Correct. Yeah, we had some big conversion errors in last year. So that is the tax roll.
Well, we anticipated that would be more.
Yeah.
So what we're supposed to do is approve the investments?
No, you've already approved them. I just, by statute, I have to present that to the board.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
That's it. I'm just going to sit here for a minute.
Okay, till we have the next one?
Yeah.
Did either of you have questions? Okay, next agenda item, 1150, discussion and possible approval of the 2025 tentative budget.
So I also left this on your desks. So the first page is a summary by fund for the tentative budget, and it's $34,295,960.
What was it last year?
The next page is a comparison that has that for you. Last year, it was $36,523.90. And then it has a percentage of change. Some of the big changes would be, of course, ARPA. And, yeah, you can see the percentage of change out on the right for each individual fund. And then attached to that is a tentative budget in detail for revenue and all the funds by line item. And these will be posted on the website by the end of day, on the county auditor's website for the budget. So if anyone wants to review them, that's where they will be. And then we'll have our budget work meetings and go through those.
And did all of the different, what do I want to call them, departments get their budgets, tentative budgets sent in to you?
The majority did. There was a few that I didn't get anything submitted, but what I've done is just went with the baseline of the prior year's budget, so they're not zero. They have a base budget there, so we'll have to look at those a little bit closer. And then there was several that didn't have substantiating information as to what the increase was for, so we'll have to go through those as well, because you might want to make the determination to take it from capital, I mean, or, go through those things, and I mean, if it's a $30,000, $40,000 increase, they really should have substantiation detail as to why they increased. That's according to state code, and we had that training last March, explaining that to our department heads.
Okay, thank you.
So if the department head or the office doesn't submit what's required, do you reach out to them?
I haven't done that, but we're going to have appointments with each person going forward in November, maybe the end of October, but I'll get those noticed and advertised, but we'll go through those. I didn't cut anybody, I put in what they requested, and that's where we're at.
So what is those requests in terms of?
There's some different areas, and I don't have a comparison by department, just by fund.
That you could get that for us?
Sure, yeah, but, yeah, but we're gonna go through them each anyway, and then we can, it's pretty easy to look on the system, the way that it works now. It's pretty intuitive, if there's anything submitted to substantiate that request.
As we do budgets and you give us this possible, nice to see the last year or two.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
Last year, she had them up when we met on the,
Yeah, we definitely look at prior years when we're working through them each. This really is tentative, it's very tentative, right? You'll have tons of time to, well, not tons of time, but a lot of time to have input, so. Yes. There's one other thing I can explain. So we have budgeted transfers to recreation and 911. 911 had a fund balance of about $400,000 last year, so we transferred a lot less. Last year, we only transferred $90,450. This year, we're transferring $474,000, but that's just utilizing that fund balance within that fund. So that's a change that looks like percentage of change. It's really not a substantially different request.
okay.
And if anyone here wants a copy, I printed plenty, so.
So the amount going into special projects is going to be quite a bit lower than
Yeah.
25.
Right, we're budgeting a lot less because we're clearing out ARPA, and that, that's going away. So it was a big significant change.
Okay. Yep. If you guys are ready for one.
I make a motion to approve the 2025 tentative budget.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the 2025 tentative budget. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Okay, 11:55 agenda item, discussion and possible approval of hearing officer contract with Randall Henderson.
So I did have an opportunity to look at that. Effectively, for any service he provides, which it spells out that it's not exclusive, and there's not a term, but he's only getting paid for whatever he actually comes and does. Yeah, it's just the 125 per hour. And I just barely tweaked that first paragraph just to say that he'll be fulfilling the duties of a hearing officer under that particular code section.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve hearing officer contract with Randall Henderson.
I'll step from the chair and second that motion.
We've had this discussion previously, and
We know how you feel, Bill. We can move
I've
on.
seen the benefits.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the contract with Randall Henderson for being a hearing officer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
We'll just need to get his signature.
Oh, wrong way. All right, next, 12 noon agenda item, discussion and possible approval of donation to UAC in conjunction with the state of Utah in lawsuit dealing with public lands. We talked about this a little bit last time. the state is trying to fight the federal government in who is going to control the lands, the BLM lands in Utah. The state is afraid of conservation groups and other special interest groups of getting a hold of the land and closing it off to public use. And so that's what the state and UAC are fighting against right now, is trying to keep the public lands open. Did you?
Madam Chair?
You bet.
Sheriff Jacobson, for the record. I don't know what your travels have been out west, particularly in the last while, but those activities are increasing in our county. Kevin Morris sent me recently some more pictures of some additional shenanigans, for lack of better terms. I'm certain most of what he sent me is not BLM activity, but these groups. So I just wanted to just put that in there. It is what it is, but we are seeing an increase in that.
Yeah, I know they've shut down, not that much. In other counties, it's been worse than in Millard County, but like I mentioned last time, they shut down 400 miles of trails and bike paths and things down around Moab, and they're just, as far as I'm concerned, they're doing too much.
Well, we discussed it before, there's another concept besides the concept you brought up. The state's been fighting to get federal land back for a long time, to know the situation. There's kind of an interior battle with you, and I've talked to a few of them about it, so I know in travel, at least we have a question, how valuable is this? What help us, and what there's, within the state of Utah, there's opposition to this lawsuit from certain counties. And so I think we need to get on the right side and show that there's truthfully Saleh County and Summit County and some other counties that are opposed to what you are doing. And so, I think we need to go and help that support out there, because within the state of Utah, there's opposition to some other support. Unless you want to discuss around support, we support the $1,000.
And I feel like we pay UAC to do this job, and now they just want more money, so why are we giving more money when we pay them already to do stuff like this? So I'm not gonna pay them any more money. It says donation, but it's not a donation. We're paying them money to do a job, and we pay them $40,000 to do it right now.
You want to make a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we give them $1,000.
Okay, I'll step from the chair and second that motion. We have a motion and a second to give the $1,000 to UAC in dealing with this lawsuit with the public lands. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Okay, moving on.
You have the 11:30 item still?
Pardon?
The 11:30 item?
Go back.
Do you want to do it now or wait and put it?
That's up to you.
My turn to do it now.
You're all sitting in here, yeah.
Okay. Will you guys come up and tell us what you figured out, please? Or at least one of you?
So looking over these bids with Clinton and Adam, actually Adam brought up a good point. Travis actually has a lot more in there than what the other gentleman does. He has how many bags of concrete's going to be in it. It's going to be fiber mesh. He's going to bring in some sub-base where the other gentleman did not have. We feel pretty confident to go with Travis at this point. If we can get it in before the freeze and save $4,500, that'd be great. I mean, we do take the chance, you know, they're talking about it getting cold this week, so we may not beat the freeze, but I'd love to take that chance if we can.
Well, can we say we want to also approve the extra 4,500 just in case
Well,
it's
we're
needed?
approving the bid, and the bid has that 15% if.
Yeah, it has it in there.
Okay.
If it needs it, it's got the 15%, yeah.
I'm sorry. So, could we approve it and then ratify it at the next one? That is an option,
So approve it and then wait till next time to ratify it.
and enter into the agreement. So it should probably be approval pending negotiations of a contract.
Okay. So,
Award.
Award.
award, yeah.
Award conditioned upon successful negotiations for the contract.
The Stanworth Construction.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have our motion and a second to award the contract to Stanworth Construction upon successful negotiation of a contract. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Pardon?
Award bid.
Award the, okay, award the bid. All righty. Okay, any public input today?
So, Kalen Taylor, this is not part of my job, I'm just here to say something that's on my mind. So, like with the public lands stuff, I think there's kind of two sides to this thing, and one that is kind of on my mind as I look at it. I've been on a lot more public land that's become privatized that was state land previously. So I love local management. I always want that to be the case. But a lot of times state-managed lands get sold much quicker than federal lands do. So it makes me nervous sometimes to see stuff go from federal lands to state lands, because I feel like then it gets sold and privatized. So I don't know, some of the like commercials and stuff that come out about showing roads being closed and things like that, I feel like they can be a little misleading, just because I've seen that happen to a lot more state land than federal land. On federal lands, they might not be putting up any more roads, but it's still open for me to walk in, go hunting on it, or something like that. So I like federal land because I use it a lot. And I don't necessarily need to have a road through something to use it, but again, I understand the concern of like special interest groups closing things down for access. I just think it's kind of a dangerous thing to put some of those commercials out there that then, you know, if that becomes state land and the state wants to sell it or do a land swap and sell something else off, we end up losing public land, which is what you see happen like in a state like Texas. They don't have any state land left because they've sold it all. Well, I mean, most of it. Anyway, that's just another side to that coin.
I appreciate bringing that up. I also brought that up when I was up at UAC talking to them about this. And I said, I don't know if the state can afford to manage these lands. And I said, I don't want them selling it to private groups because nobody gets to use it. And they said with the mineral leases that the state would collect, that it would more than pay for being able to manage them, and they felt like there's no way they would need to ever sell off any land, which I hope is correct.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if I believe
In
it,
some
but
cases, it doesn't matter if they can afford to manage it, they just get greedy and want to.
see the dollar signs from it and then it goes. But like I said before, I see both sides of that. I like local management always. I just get nervous because I see a lot of places that used to be state land that have been sold, which I understand that as well. We need money, but it's frustrating sometimes when those get closed. It seems like more frequently than federal lands, so.
What are some of the state lands that you're aware of?
Just like sitless stuff along the Wasatch Front that then gets involved in like a land swap and like foothills type areas. I don't have like a specific one in mind right this second, but.
Yeah, I know that Sitla wanted to do a land swap over by IPP with some of the Bears Ears stuff so that they could use more of that for development around IPP, and the state actually opposed that. So.
Anyway, that's
No, I appreciate you bringing that up.
a different perspective.
Because it's something that we, if this does pass and the state takes control, we've got to make sure that they don't sell it off to private people. Because
Right.
that's the whole reason we're doing this, is to keep it open.
One of the biggest considerations, if you look at the budgets, over 70% federal land. You have no taxes, no revenues. That's a problem. You get state taxes, we get revenues on almost 100% of the properties. So, at least if you go in private, it goes on the tax rolls. If you go to the state, it might not. The state is much more proactive in leasing, and there's a significant amount of revenues that come in, at least revenues from oil and gas, where the federal government is restricted thereon. So, and that's the other side of the argument, on potential to try to manage, and I guess like the sheriff says, I mean, even those federal lands out there, we're contributing a lot to manage them, and we're generally not getting what it takes to manage them. So if you have private or state lands, they have a lot more potential to produce revenues than we do if it's federal lands. They're very reluctant to be proactive in development.
Right. And my main concern isn't the money, my main concern is whether I can go out there and hunt on it, right? So, I understand.
But see, you're young enough and in good enough shape, you can hike a long ways. I have to either pedal my bike or ride a four-wheeler.
That's true, but I can't hike a long ways through private property, so.
Well, we're not going to let it get privatized.
Right. That's what I had. That's my comment.
Anyway, appreciate it, thanks. Okay, any other public input? Did you want to say something, Bill? Oh, okay. Other business, come on up. What's that? Okay.
So at the beginning of the year, we purchased a new air compressor, and it was approved to get it purchased, and during that process, we was explaining why we wanted that particular air compressor, and one thing that was brought up was because we go out and we help the care center and also the cemetery district blow out their sprinklers. After that was brought up, we come to find out that that may have not been a proper procedure for us to do. Both the care center and the cemetery district has got a hold of me again this year and asked me, and I says, well, I don't want to go out and do something that I'm not supposed to be doing. So I believe the care center may have ties to the county, but the cemetery district does not. So I just, before I tell them yes or no, I wanted to know what the commissioners felt about that. If you're okay with me doing it, I don't mind going out there and helping them out, but if it's something we shouldn't do, I need to let them know that we cannot do it anymore.
You own the care center, the cemetery, you don't, so we're in the
My opinion,
If you go help both of them.
yeah, me too.
Okay, that's just, I just didn't want to go out and get in trouble for doing it, so.
Sometimes the county has equipment that other organizations, groups, whatever, don't have, and I
Okay.
think it's fine if we help them out.
Great, I'll let Skip and everybody know, and we'll go help them blow theirs.
Okay. Your turn? Okay.
We just, Bonnie and I have been working on some of the surplus vehicles. So I've reached out to several of the departments, and they're giving me their longest tenured vehicles with the most mileage, the ones that they're looking to move. I just need to get permission and approval from you that we're going to sell one of the Dodges, and I have all the asset numbers and all of the methodology for determination the value of that. And then we're going to take the sheriff's trucks that we've just replaced, and we're going to divide those out among the greatest needs in the county, but I just need your support and approval to do that. Again, Bonnie obviously is the elected official responsible for that, and so she and I are working very closely on all of those numbers and the reassignment of that. I don't know, Bonnie, if you have any other statements, but as long as you guys are good to move forward.
I'm good to move forward, but we're making sure that we can't get by another year with them, or like these vehicles, like, hey, we've got to get rid of these type of vehicles, or like, oh, we're just going to rotate vehicles because it's time to rotate vehicles.
Well, so the sheriff's office, they're the ones who replaced the vehicles. They've already been purchased. We now have 4 vehicles that need to go to surplus, but obviously the trickle effect, they're newer and better vehicles than the road, who also has newer and better vehicles than landfill, and so they're just moving down. So the purchase has already been made. Now we just need approval to reassign these and to sell the ones that we can get a better value selling than keeping. So, and we have all of those numbers and methodology, and Bonnie and I will be working very closely to make sure that the internal controls of those are being done, so.
This is a long process Jacob's working on, but I think there's a real financial advantage if we're able to keep these in use and use them. We have requirements that we have.
Yeah.
So I support what you're trying to do.
Okay, awesome.
Me too.
Keeping track of where you're at.
Okay,
Time to turn it over.
great. Yeah, we just wanted this process, obviously, to be approved at the board and the transparency of it, that's the route that we're taking, so, thank you.
Yeah, sounds good, thank you. Okay, your other business.
About a year ago, we gave approval to order a compactor from Enfield. John has received some information that compactor might be available in the next months or something, maybe even weeks, and so maybe Bonnie would have a comment. When we purchased equipment like that before, the landfill is an enterprise fund. And under generally circumstances that we have in the past, it's been prudent for the county to loan that money to the enterprise fund, and then the landfill has paid that back over the years. So I would suggest that we do that again for this contract.
Now, it's a used one, isn't it?
No, it's a brand new.
So is he, I guess you mentioned before that it takes a long time for him to get these built.
What I'm wondering, did we already approve
We ordered it.
the loan of this, or did we just approve the,
Okay. And it's finally going to be available.
Yeah, all we do is approve the order, and we can turn away from that. But it takes a year to get them. My suggestion would be we need another compactor. One we got told, if it ever goes down, we don't have a compactor. There's like we have another trucks. And I would just consider that the county loan, the enterprise fund the money, because there's not a lot of savings in that account.
So to do a loan, it has to be, a full-on loan with under a resolution, and it has to be budgeted for this purchase, and a budgeted transfer. I wish we could have talked about it in the public hearing. Is there a way to go back into public hearing and amend that?
I think you could open the public hearing back up. The only issue would be notice. Was there anyone here?
Well, we only noticed the ATV Jamboree and all other items
I
as,
think we probably ought to wait till the next meeting. And if I'm looking at the right code section, there has to be, no, you're right, just the public hearing and the resolution.
so, because we just noticed the one individual, the ATV Jamboree, and then we put all other funds and budgets could be considered as necessary.
The hardest part is it doesn't really contemplate a loan.
Right.
Because you have to have all the terms in there,
But if they've approved to order it, we have to have it in the budget somewhere.
right?
So it's a catch-22, you know, and then the loan could be a separate issue next time.
Yeah.
How soon do we have to respond?
Could we open up, let's open up the public hearing, receive comment, rescind the action, move for action to amend your exhibit, and then condition it upon approval of a loan and at the next meeting.
Okay.
So why would we open up this public hearing?
Don't we have to wait till
Do
next
we know
time?
how
to
much
do-
they have out on loan?
She says we could do,
Yeah, I just did the transfer.
she said we could do it now, and then
I'm sorry. Yes, you can amend your budget, because you did notice it to amend the budget, but you have to have a specific public hearing for the loan terms.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that'll have to be noticed next time.
So their loan, they just got it last year, their first, and it was, I want to say, just under 500,000 for that piece of equipment, and they make $100,000 payments each year, and they've only made 2 payments, so they still have 3 years, as I can recall.
We rolled over like 50,000 from the previous loan.
Right.
They haven't finished paying off either.
Yeah, so it's just one loan now with, and in their budget.
the first one got paid off, then we have one for the compact.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's, the first one didn't get fully paid off. We rolled it over with the compactor.
Mhm.
For the compact truck.
And right now, I mean, their total budget's running at 80%, and we're, 78% through the year, so they don't have a lot of extra for this equipment. So you might approve to order it, but we need to budget for where it's going to come, and it probably won't be paid out this year anyway, if what you're telling me is correct, right? So.
Well, the only way we're gonna get it, I guess, is we're gonna have to roll it back because of money. So that's the decision.
Yeah, I need to look at, their fund balance unless, because that would be building too. We could look at that, and that takes coordination with the treasurer's office to see what, because the best practice is we keep 3 months operating expenses in there to determine what, and it funds their current budget, but to see if they have any that they could contribute in their own fund.
This doesn't need to be done right away. You're just letting us know it's about to be finished being built, right?
What's that?
You're just letting us know that it's about
Yeah,
finished being
they
built. They don't-
contacted John a month ago, and actually I forgot to bring that, we should brought it up, but they says this compactor is going to be completed and ready to be delivered. So I don't have a specific date, but they told me about 2 weeks ago that it's getting close.
Well, that's good. We're gonna open the budget sometime in the next month again, I'm sure, aren't we? We're getting close to, or no?
We usually open it in December, because we have
He said
unknown.
it might be here within a month.
Oh.
So it's gonna be sooner than later.
Okay.
You don't know for sure, but it's gonna be sooner than later.
Which practically, they're gonna have to wait for the money, so if it's sitting there for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, if it comes tomorrow, we're not gonna have it on, so we're gonna have to wait
Right.
until we go through the process. But can we start it today? Can we get with the budget and then complete it next time? 'Cause I don't think we have a meeting for 3 weeks or something like that, so.
Yeah, you could amend the budget with your resolution that you have today, but your loan terms are not gonna be approved, so you're not actually gonna have that money. It's just gonna be reflected in the budget.
So it's not gonna matter even if we amend the budget today, we can just wait.
Yeah, the only difference is you're gonna have an extra resolution in public hearing, whether you amend it today or you wait.
Okay. Just whatever's best way forward.
So should we just wait and put that on another?
Do you have a preference?
Do I what?
Do you have a preference about opening it again?
I mean, if you do it now, it's done. And with the way that Attorney Harris suggested, condition on obtaining a loan, putting in the budget with that condition, or open it again in a month.
I say let's wait. They're not gonna sell it. If we say, hey, it's gotta be approved by the county, they're not gonna go up and sell it within a month.
Okay.
If we say, hey, give us, we got the money, or we just said we're gonna get the money, so I say let's hold off. Do it all, I'll do it all on the same day.
It probably makes sense to break it up too, because
Yeah.
if one of the resolutions is going to be conditioned on future action, but the other amendments to the budget won't be,
Okay,
you'd have to make that clear in the resolution anyway.
okay.
All right. Okay. One last thing that I knew of about other business, I think all of us got an email from Kathy Walker mentioning that she didn't think that some of the restrooms were up to ADA compliance over around the fairgrounds. I don't know for sure which ones, but anyway, I talked to Clint this morning. He's going to talk to Bill and make sure that we had the toilets that were the right height for the handicap stalls.
Yeah, I talked to Bill. We'll make sure that we are in compliance, all those facilities.
Sounds good. Thanks, you guys.
Real quick, I have a question on that. Do you have to do it, like if your building's at a certain age, like, maybe more of an added question, are you grandfathered into like, hey, you don't have to do this, you're not doing
That's what I gotta research. If the building's so old, I don't know, as long as you have the handrails, I don't know if the toilet, I'll have to read it. It seems like it changes all the time too, so.
Okay.
Toilets are pretty cheap though, so.
Why is it a toilet? She made it sound like it's more than a toilet thing. You gotta be able to get a wheelchair in there and spin it around and just
Didn't
not the
she
handlebars don't matter,
I
like,
thought she said the handrails had already been installed.
I thought she said that the handrails don't.
They have, that is spelled out. There are things that are readily achievable. There are some limitations where you don't have to go back and modify the building, but things that can be done readily for public buildings are required to be done.
Okay.
So things like doorknobs and faucets, being lever faucets and grab bars, and they are required.
And I know a lot was done during COVID. I would assume that would have been applied
Okay.
during those.
So maybe, like major remodeling doesn't matter, but just minimal things that.
Things that are easy to do or.
I'll find out and I'll discuss it with Adam. I gotta find out which ones are not in compliance first, so.
I'll get you that material.
All right.
Okay, discussion and possible appointments to various county boards. Hadn't been advertised? Okay, sounds good, thank you. Okay, thanks. Possible approval of applications for settlement or deferral of delinquent property tax. Okay, none. Discussion by each county commissioner, county attorney, elected official, and secretary. Anybody have anything? Okay. Thanks for all your work there.
Cheryl gets them.
Okay.
So we're still working on filling some positions with our EMS structure. We had an offer out for the shed coordinator in Delta, and they declined that based on the compensation. I think it is probably pretty marginal for what you would hope to get. So we've got to redo that. And with that, we've got an in-house that's been taking the vast majority of the load of director and is willing to continue to do that. And I think that's the best structure. If we just maintain coordinator at both sheds trajectory, and Lindsay can manage that other stuff, but she'd need to be duly compensated for that is the issue. I think you've been approached by some notion of, for the shed coordinators, per run type of a stipend if they were actually going on runs. I don't know where you're at individually deliberating all of that, But I just wanted to give you that status update and kind of what we're fighting with it. Not fighting, but we're challenged with it, right?
So we might need to increase some wages, salaries, whatever.
Well, I think if you look at the model, and I think HR presented that to you individually, if you look at that model and if it's feasible, it may increase the pool, and it may be more fair. I don't know. I haven't really looked at the figures and what that would do. I do know what Lindsay's putting into it right now, and I'll be pushing some ideas through HR on that.
Okay.
Okay?
Real quick, does Lindsay want to do it, or do we need, because I know the guy in Delta really would like to, but it's more just a compensation thing. Would he be a director/coordinator over in Delta if their wages are right? If Lindsay wants to be more of a director role, I'm more than happy to.
You know,
direction.
She's,
But if she doesn't, maybe we compensate this other guy enough that.
she's been beaten into submission to a point, right? I mean, the whole process, but she understands that role, I think, the best, and having the grant management and the financial part of it right inside my hallway, I think is a huge tool for us. And we can redefine maybe the other roles as we progress forward, but.
Didn't we start there originally and we moved beyond it? I mean, we thought that was a great idea in the beginning.
To be temporary, right, to burden her temporarily, and,
So I thought it was a great idea then, I think it's really good.
well, it's an easy place to go, because she's amazing at her job.
It seems like that's where we started
Yeah.
to do that, and then we moved on.
Yeah.
Maybe Jacob's got some comments, so I don't know if we can make that work.
Well, that's the way we're going to make it work.
Just a side note, obviously, we've had the independent auditor, right, recommend that we bring all of the grants under one umbrella. We've submitted a proposal that goes into the auditing office for all of the county grants, right? And so hopefully that, if we can make that work at, in the near future, that takes some of the load off of Lindsay, but she obviously is performing 3 or 4 different positions, different tasks right now, right? And whether long-term, short-term, obviously the sheriff and I will have that conversation about, what does this look like long-term, right? But we've discussed multiple options, right? And one of the options was this idea of getting a stipend on top of the hourly wage for that position. When they do run, they get an X number of dollars stipend to help compensate. Because what we're up against right now is that they're working their full-time job somewhere else, and then they're making pretty good additional money making the runs. We can't compete with both of those 2 salaries, right? We can't compete with the salary they're making at their current position and the run stipend, but if we could add a little additional, that you're making an hourly rate, plus if you do a run, you get X number of dollars that I've sent out to you, that seems a little more feasible. I don't know if we could get to Lloyd's, but at least that's something, and so, anyway, but just a side note, the grant, hopefully we can pull some of that other responsibility away, but just something we thought we should present.
Well, because I know one of the concerns is getting somebody that all the EMTs are going to respond well to. And right now, we're not in a range to get somebody that EMTs will respond well to. There's only a couple of guys, and granted, while they might all be good, might not be very good leaders, a couple of them. And that's what I worry about, is we leave our wage low enough that we just get who we have to get, not who we want to get, and that's probably the biggest concern right now, because I know the person we would like to get does need more money, and the guy that's kind of second, on the west side, I'm talking west side, I don't know much about the east side, is I don't know if the EMTs will respond well, or how well that person will manage out of the couple applicants they got.
So there's some interviews going to happen in a couple of weeks for the Fillmore shed. So that process, the end of that's unknown right now, right? I don't think that we've had any, we typically don't discuss definitive compensation until a formal offer is made, right? Yeah. We may be talking a little more bluntly about that, because it's tough to go through a background, and then it takes weeks sometimes, and then someone says, well, that's not enough money. But We've got some good candidates in Fillmore. We'll see where that one plays out. But I think we're going to, if you folks will look at that stipend, we can review with an applicant, does that make the difference? Probably won't. I know what the split is, but I'm not going to make that decision for them. And then we'll repost for the Delta Shed as coordinator.
Do you do backgrounds on all entities, or is it
Full-time positions, yeah.
because of the coordinator position?
Mm-hmm.
And others,
No. No. That's necessary in the very least because these folks are in and out of our buildings and there's law enforcement information that
Oh, yeah.
is there and, right? So,
Yeah, I think it needs to happen.
okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff.
All right. Possible Board of Equalization. Guess we need a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go into BOE. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
We're gonna s-
Welcome, ladies.
Thanks. We're going to start with personal property and just let the assessors present that. Those businesses, I think they're all out of business.
All of them are out of business. One of them was even, they started doing an audit through the state this year, and the state let us know that the operation's completely closed, employees have been terminated, just inactivate and delete the accounts. So these are all just a handful of them due to whatever varying circumstances. There's nothing to seize, the business is no longer in place, and there's not really much that we can follow through on with those.
Makes sense.
so what do you?
We're just gonna accept them?
Approval that we agree with the state? Is that-
No, to, what would be the proper word for these? To remove that? Remove the
What
accounts?
business
Yeah.
is this?
So there's Blind Dog Enterprises, Longview Construction and Development, Red Box, Refitness, and then Smart Sky Networks is the telecommunications one that the state says is no longer in business.
So these are all out of business.
All of them are out of business, and there's nothing to seize.
So when you have a property and they're out of business, or just not operating, does that go back on your, on the tax rolls as just the property? Does it just go back as property tax?
So
And you,
this
so
is-
do you appraise it as a property tax?
This is personal property.
Okay.
So there's no land for us to actually attach them. Like the Red Boxes, they used to have one over in Maverick.
Oh, okay.
And then one over in the Delta side. The old Dairy Queen, it's now a Wendy's, but Dairy Queen, like the transition happened, so Wendy's is there now. There's nothing to seize for Dairy Queen.
So we just like dismiss these? Is that what we
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we dismiss the businesses as presented.
Will that work?
Yeah, the market value for the
Market
businesses.
value for the businesses presented as presented.
I said that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to dismiss the property values, what do we call it, for the businesses that we discussed. All of those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
The next item of business we have is, we have a request for an extension that we need to send to the Utah State Tax Commission because our hearing officer is going to hear the last of the 2021, no, there's like 22, 21 appeals on October 30th. And then, so typically by statute, you have 60 days to have a decision on these appeals, and it's going to push us farther than that date because we don't meet till November 12th. So to give us a little wiggle room, I asked in the letter to request an extension through November 19th, the second time we meet in November, to make those final decisions. And so I'll have, if the board's okay with that, we'll have you sign that as the chair. The next item is, we've had a handful of assessor adjustments that have come in since the last time we've met, that we went ahead and processed, that went in the tax roll, that was in the total that you looked at. So I just need to get approval on those.
Okay. Laura, real quick. Refitness is still there. Is it just under a different name?
Different name. So the people who own it now are not responsible for the personal property of the one before them.
No, that's, I
Yeah.
didn't know if it changed names, or it must have changed names then too, though.
I believe so.
They still call it that, but I don't, maybe it's under a different name for
Yeah.
tax purposes.
It's different ownership though, too.
Yeah, it's different
Yeah.
ownership.
Do we need to approve where you applied for extension with the state, or you just need to make us aware of that?
No, I think you should approve it.
Okay. Need a motion to approve the application for extension to the state?
I move we approve the extension.
Gotta sign that one.
Oh, yeah, this is the one. Okay, he made a motion, okay. We have a motion and an extension, or a motion and a second to approve the extension on the appeal deadline to the state of Utah to extend it until November 19th, 2024. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Did you have a chance to look at that list?
Yeah, I signed
We're
that.
supposed to sign both sides? There's two.
No, just that front, the front. Yep.
Okay, 'cause there's one on the back there I noticed, I didn't know that.
Those you haven't, you'll approve next time. And then we had an appeal that was tabled. It was a request to dismiss, and it was tabled because Commissioner Wright had to leave, and then there was a conflict of interest with Commissioner Johnson, which the code requires documented conflict of interest. Can you email me that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so our recommendation was to dismiss it with notifying them with intent to dismiss of 10 days to provide evidence. Otherwise, then we'll just go ahead and dismiss the appeal.
You want to make a motion there, Bill?
I make a motion that we dismiss it?
Well,
If they
they're
haven't
going to give
approved
them the notification first,
Yeah,
right?
10 days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, I so move.
okay.
Okay, I'll step from the chair and second that motion. We have a motion and a second for the assessor's office to notify them, the said party, about providing evidence, or it will be dismissed. All those in favor, say aye.
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 I did have copies of that. Did you guys want to look at it? Sorry, my bad.
If you're going to get more evidence, I think we're probably okay.
So, all right. Then we just have two other applications that didn't just clearly qualify under the mandate for abatement. The first one's Brent Clough. He does qualify the circuit breaker for age, but what's in question is ownership. He does not have, they couldn't find a copy of the trust, and under the code, they have to have a revocable trust, but what he did provide was an older power of attorney that says he has the right to improve, repair, maintain, manage, insure, and rent, lease, and sell. So I called the state and they said it's up to the board how you want to proceed with that. So I have copies of that.
Can we notify him and say he's got to provide us some proof of a trust?
Well, this is all he's had, right, okay.
Yeah, he's worked with those others on the trust, and they haven't been able to find a copy, so he provided us with this legal document.
Oh, okay.
And if you want to consider it as ownership, is really the question.
Legally, is this adequate to show that?
What the state said, although the trust, showing it's a revocable trust, is not quite the same thing as a POA, but in the standard, right after the last quote, it says about POAs, the representatives of applicants unable to act on their own behalf should submit a signed and notarized power of attorney or other documentation as required by the county within the application. So it's whatever you require. Because we don't have standards, county standards for BOE. We just follow the state recommendation.
I would move that we approve the power of attorney.
Second.
So does this actually give him power of attorney?
It looks like he's a successor. It looks like, it's not first page again. It looks like there is an original agent and he's a successor agent.
Okay.
So I don't know if we have info on why the first one is acting.
I think it was his parents, and they both deceased.
That makes sense. I'm sure that's fine.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second to make give him power of attorney for this property. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Okay, and then the last one is a hardship abatement for Gene Hardman. Let me pass these out real quick. Ms. Harmon has included a letter, a hardship letter, which is required. Oh, this one, she doesn't qualify because she's not 66 yet. She's the only one on the title.
So on question 18, it says you are
Residents or-
unmarried widow or widower, and they put no. And then, oh,
Right, which makes it so she doesn't qualify for the state circuit breaker
Yeah.
abatement. And so she's applying under the hardship. And she marked no on disabled.
So she don't qualify for the state, so what? is she-
So you can give her a county hardship abatement based on the information that's presented.
So we can, the reason she don't qualify from the state is her age?
Right,
How
they have
old
to
i-
be,
How old is she?
she's
65.
65.
You have
And
to
she
be
needs to be
66.
66?
Yeah,
So we can give her a county,
we can give her a county abatement. And we,
but if she was 66, she would qualify?
she would.
Okay. Well, I would move we approve it.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve a hardship case for Gene Harmon. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I don't have the table with me right now, but just according to the income table, you're just approving the percentage,
Yeah.
the same manner as everyone else? Okay,
Yep.
great. And that is all the BOE. So,
I make a motion, we go out of close BOE.
I think Kayla wants a clarification.
Just so that I have this correct for the minutes, with the abatement application for clubs, you said the ownership was in question, but the power of attorney letter was found. The state says it's acceptable and the county accepts it. So what they made a motion to approve was the circuit breaker application, correct?
Yeah, the circuit breaker tax abatement.
They didn't actually grant power of attorney, they made a
No.
motion to approve
Okay.
the circuit breaker.
Thanks for
Yeah.
fixing that.
Maybe you fix that motion. Because the motion was.
Should we redo it?
Yeah, let's reword that.
I would make a motion to approve the circuit bid.
I don't know if
Well, we
anybody's.
didn't come out.
We didn't get a vote, so I would make a motion, or is it Clough?
Yeah.
That we approve the circuit breaker.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the circuit breaker for, is it Brad Clough?
Yeah, no, it's Brent.
Brent Clough. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thanks for picking that up. Okay, now you can make a motion.
I make a motion, we close BOE.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close BOE. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we go back, we need a motion to go back into regular
I
session.
think we go back, if we close BOE.
Oh, we don't have to go back in?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
we're done with BOE. We just close BOE and that puts us back.
Okay. Okay.
There is a closed
It's a
session.
long day.
I'm sorry.
Next, possible review of county policies and contracts. Possible closed meeting.
Yes, there is one to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation.
Okay. We need a motion.
I make a motion, we enter into a closed session for pending or
Reasonably imminent.
reasonably imminent litigation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go into closed meeting pending, what's the word I
I
want?
know you usually don't. This is the one you said you had a conflict on.
Yeah, I do.
I think it could be fine. if it's just this one. Oh. Yeah, maybe stay.
And we will be ending the meeting after this closed session.